Shout out to the chess club.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing? How we doing? We living life, living large. Got that BDE? You better. You better. You should always really. I mean, frankly. It's always in this lighting. My phone looks so oily and gross. Look at that. I swear when like I'm holding it, it doesn't look that bad. But the moment that like the screen's off and you set it down, it just looks disgusting. Like, Jesus. Okay, we're gonna wipe that. Man, how is little Ori? Little Ori is with Mama right now. I have a picture I can show you though. He's doing great. So basically a little update for Mr. Ori. He got sent home from the hospital. Basically his oxygen levels are doing really well. He's still kind of on the edge where the doctor said they would be more comfortable with him just staying on oxygen for a day or two till he has a follow-up appointment. But it wasn't bad to the point where they were like, we need to keep him here and keep him like in the hospital. So basically they sent us home, and late last night at like 10, they came and hooked us up with a bunch of oxygen tanks and this like compressor thing. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if you guys have like family members or maybe you yourself have been through this, but like my grandma like on my dad's side, she was a very, very heavy smoker. And so towards the end of her life, pretty much the only time I ever knew her, her lungs were shot. So she had one of these compressors with the big long green tube that goes to, I forget what they call it, but the thing that goes in your nose to give you oxygen. And she had that 24/7. I mean, and they lived on like a little split level house in the Black Hills of South Dakota. So every time we'd go to visit her, this green cable was everywhere. So like seeing them bring that compressor in for my 5-month-old son, cannula, that's it. Seeing them bring that same machine in with the big long green cables and everything was pretty like, it was a little surreal. Like nostalgic is the wrong word, but it was like, I had not seen that since I was probably like 8 or 9 years old in my grandma's house, and she needed it because she used to smoke however many packs a day. I mean, she was a very heavy smoker, and so she needed it because her lungs were shot from that. Ori needed it because his lungs were shot from RSV, but he's doing really, really well. Tactical Hound, thank you. Sort of traumatic, yeah, but it was like seeing them bring it in was, of course, like it's upsetting. It's the last thing you want for your 5-month-old son is to have him hooked up to tubes and oxygen while he sleeps. But on the same side of it, I'm also really glad that we live in an age where that's an option. Like straight up 50 years ago, if this had all happened, Ori probably wouldn't be here right now. But thankfully we do live in a time where you're able to just get oxygen tanks and bring them to your home, and he can sleep without his blood oxygen levels dropping a lot. I will say, if there's any parents out there, this is how we realized that his blood oxygen was dropping so much. There's a thing called the Owlet Dream Sock, and it just looks like this, but we've had it since we had Lachlan. But basically it's a little sensor that goes and it's like a sock. So they wear it on their little foot, and it reads their heart rate. It reads their movement, so it can tell how well they're sleeping. And it also reads their blood oxygen levels. So it can alert you if it drops to a dangerous point, which is how we found out there was a real problem. Like he had a cough and everything, but he didn't seem to be having much trouble. But he was sleeping, and that showed his numbers when he slept dropped down into like the mid 70s, which is bad. Like if it drops below 85, you're supposed to go into the ER for a baby. He was in like 75 to 78 range. So of course we saw that. We're like, oh my God. So we went in and they did like the official testing on him, you know, with their sensors and everything, and verified everything. So if you are a parent, a new parent, or your kid's sick, it's expensive, but those Owlet foot sensors, I'll tell you what, I mean, unironically, no jokes, it might have actually saved Orion's life, because every one of the doctors was saying this kid is too cheerful to have RSV. Like they didn't believe that he had RSV because when he's awake, he's just smiley and happy. And like, you know, there's these pictures of him at the hospital. And if you didn't know, yeah, like this is him sitting on Nikki's lap. Like, if you didn't know that he was really sick, you'd have no idea, because he's just like a happy, chipper little goober. But then, you know, the moment that he goes to sleep, his oxygen would just tank. So, I'm very glad we had the sensor, but everything's okay now. They hooked him up to oxygen. He started at, I think like, I don't really understand it. I'm not a doctor, but like, I think they said that they started him at 2 liters of oxygen his first day. They were able to get him down to like 1 liter the second day. And then the third day he was down between like 0.25 and 0.5 liters of oxygen, kind of bouncing between there. And now that he's home, he's on 0.25. So he's on very little oxygen. I mean, if you check the actual like flow of air, you can basically not feel it. But it's just that little bit extra that helps him get across the finish line, and have better blood oxygen levels. So thankfully he's doing really, really well. Thank you everybody for the well wishes and everything. When he got home, I'll tell you what, he was a stinky little fella, because in the hospital, like they have like baby baths and they can do like white baths, but you can't really do much, like you're in the hospital. So when he got home last night, or yesterday afternoon / evening, we got him home and then he took a bath, and he loves his bath, but they have these like stickers that go over his, like on his cheeks to hold the cannula, I think we said it was called there. And so they're like little round stickers that go right there, and we had to take them off to do the bath and to give him a break, because he had had them on for a few days, and he had these big red circles on his cheeks from where they were. They went away within like 15 minutes, but felt a little bad. He looked like a little doll. But yeah, he's doing great. He's wonderful. So he's rocking. How old's my oldest? He's 2, like 2.5 at this point. So for him, he was just really confused because he didn't really know what was going on. Nikki had to stay the night at the hospital with Orion because, shocker, I can't breastfeed. So I can't feed Orion overnight, and he's not a formula baby. He's never had formula. So like this would have been a tough time to start him on formula. We could have if we needed to, but Nikki was like, I'll stay with him overnight. You can come visit in the day and stuff. But Lockie was just confused because he's like, why isn't mama coming home? Like he just didn't get it. But he was also a trooper. Yes, you can. Don't lie to us, Luke. You're not fooling anyone, Luke. It's like I always say, if you squeeze anything hard enough, milk will come out. Jesus. Oh man. Hey Newman, yeah, no, I'm very thankful he's okay too. But he's good. And he's kicking it. We have a follow-up appointment on Thursday morning, and hopefully we go in then, and so I guess tomorrow morning, but hopefully we go in tomorrow morning and he just, like, his oxygen levels are good and they clear him to get off of oxygen fully, and we're okay. And worst case scenario, I mean, they might say keep him on to Monday and then bring him back in Monday. And if that's the case, okay. But yeah, it is an adjustment. It's an adjustment for sure. Um, Jesus. Any meds, Luke, or just O2? Just O2. Yeah. The thing apparently with RSV is that it's just a lot of liquid and gunk in the lungs. And that because it kind of like clogs up your lungs, it's not able to absorb as much oxygen as is needed. It's kind of the way the nurse phrased it. She was like, imagine a solar panel and, you know, you have like your whole roof full of solar panels and you need like 90% of that to be in sunlight to generate enough power for your house or your body to have energy. And she's like, when you have something like RSV, what's happening is just imagine there's like snow covering half of the solar panels. So even if there is sun coming in, it's not generating enough energy to actually like help with anything, you know? So it's, over the course of the time he was at the hospital, they just did a lot of suctioning. So they put like a tube up his nose and all the way down into like his whatever lung cavity. I don't know what it is, but they suction out a ton of stuff and crud and put him on O2. So he's on hyper concentrated. So even though there's only like 40% of solar panels up, there's still so much sunlight effectively that it makes up for the lack of total absorption, if that makes sense. So he's been able to kick it really quickly, and because he's a big boy, he kicked it extra fast. They said when we brought him in, they were like, once he gets a good night's sleep, I think he's going to recover pretty quickly. It's just that he hasn't been able to sleep because when he sleeps, he doesn't get enough oxygen. So his body keeps waking him up to keep him from basically suffocating. And so he just can't sleep, poor fella. And so once they got him on oxygen and he was able to actually breathe while he slept, he was able to kick it pretty quickly. But yeah, not how I expected our early December to go, but thankfully everything is okay. And you know, it's not just Ori. I've a number of friends, my sister, her son, her little like, he's got to be 3.5 months old, 4 months old. He got admitted to the hospital as well. They were actually neighbors. So Ori and his cousin were next door neighbors in the hospital because they both had RSV at the same time. So it's unfortunately just going around. It's pretty scary. It's crazy. Yeah, he's a trooper. He really is. Apparently I had RSV a lot when I was a kid because my mom came over and like helped watch Lachlan for a little bit so I could like fold laundry or put stuff away or go get groceries and stuff. And she was saying that when I was a baby, about Ori's age, I had RSV all the time. And so it wasn't that big of a shock that Ori was susceptible to it. But yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, we're going to look at the GTA 6 trailer and all of that stuff. All that good stuff. Yeah. We'll talk about that in just a second. I'm drinking a spicy chai. Spicy chai. If you want just like a regular chai, put a little bit of cayenne pepper in it. That's how they make it spicy. And it feels so good on a throat that's a little sore. I'll tell you what, it's good. Don't overdo it because it's very easy to turn it into like battery acid if you put too much cayenne pepper, but it's good. It's good. Spicy chais are phenomenal. Real quick, thank you everybody for the super chats. It's very generous. Let me start at the top. Kinomansky, thank you. What couch gaming games you will play with your sons? I am excited to play the like OG Lego Star Wars games because those are ones I played when I was little. And they have co-op built into them, so they're really good to play with kids. That's what I'm really excited to play, like the OG Lego Star Wars games. I'm pumped for those. I haven't played a lot of the more recent ones, but those OG ones, ooh. I remember, let's see, we lived in Minnesota at the time, so I must have been like, I must have been 8 or 9, because it was like 2005, 2006. And Lego Star Wars, we had just gotten it. And you know how like when you're growing up and you go through a growth spurt, you like can't sleep? You remember that when you were like a little kid, you go through a growth spurt and You don't sleep until you don't fall asleep till 2 a.m, which when you're an adult isn't that late. But when you're a kid, it feels like you're never going to fall asleep again. And it's scary and horrifying. Like for me, I remember playing Lego Star Wars and having like half lucid nightmarish dreams about Lego Star Wars while going through one of those growth spurts. And it like to this day is, I think of Lego Star Wars and I think of that dream / nightmare I had during that growth spurt, which is just funny. It's just funny, like that it's still so ingrained all these years later. But every once in a while, I just remember, like, you remember a dream super vividly, and there's no reason you really should remember it so clearly, but you do, Let's see. Do you have a video of your reaction to the GTA 6 trailer? I don't, because I was at the hospital. Ori was asleep, and so like I was at the hospital sitting on like a couch that turns into a bed when the trailer dropped surprisingly, and I lack self-control, so of course I watched it. And so no, I don't have a video of my reaction to it, but like we were sitting in the room, it's dead quiet, we're just trying to find something to do to occupy our time while we wait for Ori to get checked on by one of the nurses. And so we're just trying to kill time, and then Jacob texted me and it's like, Rockstar dropped the trailer early. I was like, what? I was like, Jesus. Yeah, I showed Nikki. I don't think she was that impressed by it, honestly. She's more excited about the Dragon Age, leaks and stuff. Let's see, but that's a good question, Kinomansky. Saud Al Sharif, thank you for the super chat as well. Hey, Luke, I just want to show some support and wish you the best. I'm glad little Orion is feeling better. Thank you, my friend. He is, and I'll tell you what, he is so happy to be home. I was like, he's a baby. He probably can't even tell when he's home or when he's not. But seriously, the moment we walked in, he just was all smiles and super chipper. And yeah, he was home and he could tell. Stardom, thank you also for the super chat. Hey Luke, new to the channel, thought your stream on Rockstar execs leaving Rockstar before GTA 6 was a thing was very interesting. I'm still getting it, though. I hope the story isn't corny. Yeah, Stardom, I like that little video. It's just giving people information. It doesn't mean the game is going to be bad. And I am going to be making a video on like a skeptical look at GTA 6. And the premise of it basically is that skepticism is just about withholding judgment or acceptance of a claim until there's sufficient evidence to accept that claim. And so in the case of something like, GTA 6, if you're asking like, is it worth being hyped over that? There's a lot of things you look at in terms of evidence, but the probably most, in my view, most convincing piece of evidence in its favor is that it's coming from freaking Rockstar, and this is Grand Theft Auto, and Rockstar, as far as we can tell, they never miss. Like, they never have. Every time they release a game, it's bigger and better than the one before. And that's not to say it's impossible that it's bad. Like, it's possible that they screw this up, but it's extremely unlikely. Just like if we find out that Game Mill is coming out with a new game after finishing Kong and the Walking Dead game, I think overwhelmingly the odds are very, very high that the game is probably not very good. It could be amazing, but it's extremely, extremely likely that it's terrible. And so, like, I think it's I think it's reasonable to be very, very excited for GTA 6. I still think hype, as it can relate to most people, can put blinders on and make you ignorant to some glaring red flags with games. But when it comes to GTA 6, like, we're talking about one studio that has demonstrated over decades that they really know what they're doing. And the moment they betray our trust and, we get something totally crappy, that will change. But I don't think you're unreasonable for being very excited, or dare I say hyped, over GTA 6. I don't think that that's really that terrible of a thing. Yeah, exactly. Game Mill could make Game of the Year 2024, but it is so crazy unlikely, it's not really worth entertaining. Just like it's possible GTA 6 is actually like a free-to-play mobile gacha game, but played on PS5 and Xbox and eventually, hopefully, PC. But it's extremely unlikely that that's the case, you know. Lego Fortnite looks good, not gonna lie, dude, for real. Also, Yokes, I see you gifted the sub. Thank you, my friend, over on Twitch. Thank you. No, they said that GTA 6 is coming to PS4 or not PS4. Strike that. It's not coming to PS4. All they said was it's coming to PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. They didn't even mention PC, which it'll eventually come to PC, but it's going to be a little bit. Yeah, 30 FPS only. Yeah, and like, you know, I'll save that. I'll catch up on the rest of the super chats. We'll talk about the 30 FPS thing because I think a lot of people have gained unrealistic expectations with it. But yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Let me finish these out. Prince Diablo, thank you also for the $4.99. Luke, since GTA 6 trailer finally dropped, can we get the GTA 5 ultimate critique? Honestly, Prince, I'm shocked that people generally aren't that interested in talking about the single player of GTA 5. Granted, it's a decade-old game, but it's still one of the biggest games of all time, and people just aren't that interested. I've tried doing like video essays over the years. I've tried doing little like looks at the game from a different perspective, and they just never ever work. I don't know why. People just aren't that interested in it. And Stardom, thank you also for another super chat. For sure, dude, kind of like Mad Max, great visuals, but story could be meh at best. Could we have a scalper situation with physical copies of GTA 6? Yeah, I mean, for sure. And if they do collector's editions, that's going to be an absolute nightmare. I can only imagine. So the whole thing, everything surrounding GTA 6 is going to be just pure chaos. Pure chaos. Just insanity. Yeah. Alan, thank you also for the super chat. Glad everything is okay with Ori. Much love to you and your family. Luke, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Did I play the Suicide Squad alpha? The thing with that is that if I say, like, let's play hypotheticals real quick. If I had played the alpha, in order to play it, you have to agree to an NDA that says you will not talk about it and you will not tell anyone you've played it. You won't share your thoughts, nothing. So if I had played it, I wouldn't be able to tell you. On the flip side, if I hadn't played it, I would probably tell you that. So fill in the gaps where you want to. You're smart. You can figure it out. But I can't, you know, nobody who played it can talk about it, which is perhaps the broader point, is that even somebody coming in and being like I saw on Twitter, a bunch of people were like, so I can't say if I did or didn't, but let's just say I definitely pre-ordered the game after this weekend. That breaks an NDA, that right there. But people just for some reason are like, totally oblivious to this. Like, if you feel like you found a loophole, you didn't. You're just breaking the NDA. It's not that complicated. Like, just shut up. You know? And as a content creator, I'm not about to like screw over the developers who have worked really hard on this and the marketing teams that have worked really hard on it and talk about it when there's just no reason really to. Hopefully they give us an actual demo where everybody can play it and talk about it openly. Because everything's leaking anyways, so it's all getting out regardless, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. It's just, I'm glad that they're giving people the chance to play it. I'm surprised though that they're trying to treat it like it's super secret when it's still leaking all over Reddit and TikTok and Twitter, and like, it's gonna get out. It's 2023. I don't think you can do public play tests and it not get out, you know? I just don't see that happening. Nashman, thank you. Hey, look late to the party. Hope little man is okay. And props to you for the YouTube post on the old you, not the current you. Remember that. Much love. And Rafal, thank you. Mad respect for addressing H-bomb. Glad you improved. Yeah, I tried to be open about it on stream, but I think a lot of people who are from his community or just are newer, of course, have never like heard me address it or talk about it. So that's why I wanted to just address it, because you don't know what you don't know. But I don't think you should hide from your mistakes or pretend they didn't happen. Like, no joke, and I've talked about this on stream before, but like I was basically in what I consider to be like a political and religious cult all those years ago, like 6-7 years ago. Like, I was insane. Like, you name a conspiracy theory, I probably held to it. And I thought, like, if you took Luke of 2016-17 and brought him to modern day, I probably would have been like full on into the adrenochrome, like, oh yeah, Hillary Clinton is drinking the blood of infants and stuff. Like, I probably would have been totally insane because I was just off my rocker. And I thought that like being edgy or being a contrarian made you like was more interesting or something. I really don't know. But over the course of like a year or two, I kind of had this moment of introspection, which a lot of people have when they go off to college. And I was like, wait, why do I think any of this is true? None of this makes any sense. And I started to reevaluate all of it and realize like, oh, like all of this is just made up. I heard like an Alex Jones type character describe it, and I just took it as true, when that's not how you should determine if things are true. You know, and of course now it sounds really, really stupid to be like, oh yeah, I just heard somebody say something and I accepted that as true. But for a lot of people, that's how they do it. They find somebody they like or trust and just accept what they say uncritically. And so over the course of the last handful of years, it's been a very active process. Really, it's why I said like, it feels like coming out of a cult, because it's been a process of what some people might call like deconstruction, which is just looking at everything you believe and then taking the pieces and breaking them apart and figuring out why that worked the way it did, and then throwing away the crap and trying to keep the good elements and then rebuild something. And for me, I mean, it meant like pretty much a 180 on almost everything I thought politically, religiously, like everything. And so when I say like I don't recognize the me in like clips from 2016-17, I mean it. Like, imagine if you were knees deep in Scientology and then you come out of it and then you look back at videos of yourself praising L. Ron Hubbard, you'd be like, who is that? Like, wow, that is crazy, man. But that's why I think you should be open about mistakes you've made, or open about things you used to think that you've realized since are insane. And maybe other people will hear it and will be like introspective and hopefully grow and change as a result too. I just think you got to be able to, deprogramming, almost like that. Yeah, you just don't, people don't realize until you start the kind of very careful deconstruction process of evaluating every little thing that you think and figuring out if you have good reason for it. People don't realize how much stuff they just accept because it's how they were raised, or it's because their family or friends all agree on this thing, so you just agree with it too. But like even something as little as like freaking Bigfoot. I had a lot of family members that were like, yeah, of course Bigfoot exists. And the reason and no joke, this is what it was. They said the reason scientists don't accept that Bigfoot exists is because it would prove evolution is a lie and that Jesus is Lord. They found a way to tie Bigfoot back into Jesus. No joke, okay? So like I was so deep into that rabbit hole way back then that like any little conspiracy theory, I was just like, yeah, it makes sense because it's all part of this grand cabal of insanity. And if anything else, like if you want to know whether my judgment was good at the time, I chose willingly to name my channel Lukey Poo. Do you need anything else? But yeah, it's just like nowadays I look back at pretty much everything that I thought and said back then, and I'm just like, I can't even recognize or understand who that was. But I think really what it was is I was probably watching a lot of those like edgy YouTubers and podcasters and stuff, and I was just echoing what they said because I thought that they were funny or really confident, so I thought that that made me cool also. And so I would just regurgitate all of it uncritically. And you know, over the next handful of years I started to ask like, wait, do I actually like agree with that, and is there a good reason to accept that? And I realized that pretty much everything that they were saying was not right and totally insane. Like, just madness. Like, you might watch some clips of Alex Jones and it's funny, you know, because he's insane, and you kind of laugh and you're like, wow, he's just screaming about the frogs being gay. That's funny. But like, that's kind of a gateway for a lot of people to get into that sect, and they might listen to some of the other stuff that they talk about, and then before you know it, you're accepting like that all of these terrible events at schools, watching my words for the algorithm, but all of these horrible things that happen at schools, you would say that those are fake, and you'd accept all of these other things just because you started thinking that this guy was kind of funny and that maybe you should believe him on other points. And it's shameful. Like it's crazy. It's just crazy. But yeah, everything that just means you changed cults. maybe we're all in cults. We can all sit around singing Kumbaya together. No, it frustrates people because I now, at least religiously and politically, I think I would fit very comfortably in, compared to where I was, certainly the center. And that drives some people crazy because they want you to leave one cult and join their cult. And I'm just, at this point, and I've mentioned this before, I'm so vehemently opposed to tribalism because I was in that, and then I saw how toxic it can be. And so like, I don't even like team sports. Like going and watching a football game where everybody's like, no, screw the Patriots, go Broncos, which I don't know how you would possibly argue go Broncos, because as somebody who lives in Colorado, they suck. But like, I don't understand the tribalistic thing. I just don't understand it. It's crazy. I just don't like it. Anyway, it's a stage that changes your world perspective. Yeah, and I think everybody should be open to that coming along, and I think we should encourage it because growth is important. Like, nobody wants, I would hope we wouldn't want people to be so entrenched in their beliefs that they can't change their minds and evolve as a person. That would be my hope. Let's see. Robert, thank you for 4 months of support. GTA 6 looks amazing, but the trailer, it's still so weird to say GTA 6 just casually. But the trailer / showcase got me excited for is Dragon's Dogma 2. That does look really good as well. Yeah, we're going to talk about the trailer here in just a second. Did you see the physical copies of Avatar still had to wait till release day? Hope this catches on to stop leaks from moving forward. I had to wait till release day. Yeah, I mean, the leaks involved with all this stuff is just insane. Like, there's so many people that work in retail that might just take a copy. Like, what game was it? Was it Hogwarts Legacy, where people were just swiping? There was like an employee at Walmart that swiped a bunch of copies and tried to sell them on eBay, not realizing that that's like a felony. And like, you just robbed from a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I think you just poked the bear a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Was it Starfield 2? Maybe it was both of them. I remember, I think it was Hogwarts, but I'm sure it probably also happened with Starfield. It's just any big game like that, it happens. And even with the GTA 6 thing, the trailer leaked, and a lot of people are thinking that it leaked because somebody at YouTube was able to figure it out. Like, an employee was able to go into the back end, see this account. Oh, they have this video that's on private. Okay. Oh, it's scheduled. Oh, it's the GTA 6 trailer. And so then they just like quickly download it, and then they share it to a burner account and publish it there. Like, it's next to impossible to keep these things secret, unfortunately. Do you think that Starfield's engine, Alphatron, will last as long as Skyrim did from a technical standpoint? Already GTA 6 put Starfield to shame in every aspect. Also, will Bethesda ever switch that engine? I frankly don't see them switching. What's really frustrating and perhaps tragic even is that, and again, people might not want to accept this, but the Creation Engine 2, where is it? Yeah, like one of the big marketing points for the Creation Engine or for Starfield was that it was the first game being developed in Creation Engine 2. And as we saw, it really did not do much of anything. Like it really did not do much of anything in terms of major improvements. Hopefully for the Elder Scrolls 6, they come out with the Creation Engine 3 and it totally eliminates like the load screen problem and the little fishbowl area problem, and they fix all of that stuff. We'll see. But I think there is no doubt that the longer that Bethesda Game Studios is using the Creation, the further out of date it becomes from the competitors. And you know how I should demonstrate this? You know, MS Paint. I think what it is like, if we do gray for the Creation Engine, okay? There was a time where the Creation Engine was really technologically impressive, okay? Or maybe we just do it like this. It's just a straight line, okay? Well, actually, it's improving a little, okay? It's getting better. They are improving some stuff. It's getting better. It's getting there. It's not magical, but it's getting there. And then if we look at like the Red Engine, I'm just gonna do red. That one back at the same time that like Skyrim was coming out, you could probably say that the Red Engine being used for the original Witcher game was probably a little bit below it. But as time has gone by, the advances made are just exponential compared to what we get with something like the Creation Engine. And you compare it to like some of the competitors, like say for GTA 6, what is it called? Rage? I think it's called Rage. It's like the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, I think is what it's called, that they run their games on. I'm pretty sure it's called Rage. You could say like, oh, their engine was maybe a little bit better, but it's just night and day, way above what these other developers are able to do. And so like the Creation Engine is making improvements, but compared to the competition, it's just not keeping up. And the longer you wait, like here, it's not that big of a deal. It's better than this. It's worse than this, but it's okay. It serves the purpose. And then you go here and you're like, ooh, well, it's just about as good as what CDPR is using, but not as good as Rockstar. That's okay. It's Rockstar. So it's serviceable. But then you go over here and it's like, okay, all of our competition is way ahead of us. You know, the top of the industry, Rockstar, is off the freaking chart. It's not even close. And Creation Engine is still down here with small iterative improvements. And I understand there's things that they're doing, such as, you know, improving load times and stuff that is technologically impressive and is way better than it used to be. But for the player, it still feels like the engine is horrifically out of date. You know, it just is. It just is. So hopefully they can make improvements. But the fact that overwhelmingly people are saying that when they hear the Creation Engine, they have a negative opinion, that should be a wake-up call to BGS. And honestly, if they went and tried to do a deal with Epic and said, listen, we want to do a deal with you, use your engine for our stuff moving forward, just like CDPR, I think they would welcome them with open arms. And I think it'd be a slam dunk, personally. Like, I think publicly people would love it. I think it would work really well for them in terms of development. There would be growing pains as well, of course, but I think the net positives probably outweigh the net negatives of changing engines, which is a huge deal. But I mean, CDPR apparently is so confident in how much it will improve their games that they're moving away from the Red Engine, which drove CD Projekt's like magnum opus after all of the updates in the form of Cyberpunk 2077 2.0, which is an amazing game technologically speaking, and they're dumping that engine for Unreal. So if they're willing to dump their amazing, phenomenal tech for the Unreal Engine, what is holding back Bethesda? Like, why wouldn't they just do it? They're not dumping as much. I'll tell you what, they're not dumping the as much baggage. The downside is that really complicates the modding community, is what I've been told, is that supporting mods through an Unreal game is a lot different than with like the Creation Engine, which perhaps is fair. But hopefully the game is so good that the modders are willing to work with some of the headaches involved. I don't know. I've not played the Cyberpunk 2.1 update yet. I got to do that. Maybe we'll do that if we have time today. Okay. Do you think it's going to come out at 60 FPS on consoles? Can the current gen handle it? Personally, I don't think so, Arnold, but we're going to do a whole segment on GTA 6 here in just a second. Just want to catch up on these real quick. Jay Watt, thank you for the 5 to Ori's college fund and or hospital bills. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. I honestly don't know how much his hospital bill is going to be. I'm a little terrified. I've mentioned this before. I pay over $1,000 a month just for health insurance for our family. So you would think we would have good health care, but like when Nikki had to go to the ER while she was pregnant with Ori, because she kind of slipped on the stairs and hit her butt pretty hard, I think that was like a $2,000 bill or $1,200 bill or something. It was a lot for just walking in and then being like, yeah, you're fine, whatever. It was so stupid. So hopefully it's not like 30 grand. But at the end of the day, like, I have no regrets. He needed to go. So, yeah, it's just money. At the end of the day, we'll make more money. I'm just glad he is okay. Let's see. Just a recommendation. I highly recommend watching Count Dankula's Absolute Mad Lads videos. They're pretty interesting to learn figures from the history, good and bad. Oh, interesting, Stardom. Thank you. I'll copy that into another tab so I can look it up later. Thank you, my friend. Just a second. Okay, where am I? Wrong tab. And Wyatt, thank you also for the super chat. Games released at the tail end of the last generation look better than current games. I think Modern Warfare 2 or 2019 is a good example. I really do think a lot of the kind of graphical stagnation we've seen is tied up in the push for 60 frames. Everybody's like, there's rioting involved if like these companies aren't hitting 60 at launch. And so I think that's holding back a lot of the push, because a lot of the extra processing power is being used to double the frames instead of just like, you know, maybe improving graphical fidelity in various ways. That's my expectation or understanding at least. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm very sniffly. And yeah, people coming in onto Twitch like McTraz. I'm not sure. I don't have timestamps for some reason on the comment, so I'm not sure when it came in. But if you're looking for the H-Bomber stuff, like I said, I made a whole community post talking about it, trying to be very like direct and clear with it, and then we just talked about it for a little bit here earlier. So if you came in after that, just rewind the video a little bit and we talked about it for a little bit. Change that song. Okay. Let's see. Yes, Joraptor. Yes, Joraptor is coming on in about 45 minutes. So yes, we will. We'll do that. Okay, let's talk. Shifting gears. Okay, Jacob. New segment. Let me pull up the damn thing first. Hold on. GTA 6. Here's a question. Why isn't GTA 6's trailer the #1 result? Like, why is all this up here as the top results instead of actually GTA 6 with 109 million views. Like, what? Is that not weird to you? I don't know. That's weird to me. It's throwing me off. Okay. Let's pause the music real quick. Okay. So, new segment. It finally happened. It is a joyous, glorious day. Well, it's complicated. So Rockstar was scheduled to drop their trailer for GTA 6 on the 5th. So yesterday, Tuesday morning at, I think it was 7 a.m. where I am, like 6 a.m. Pacific time. It was pretty early, but they were scheduled to do that. However, the night before at like, I think it was 5:30 p.m. I forget which time zone, but at 5:30 p.m. there was a leak on Twitter or X where somebody had gotten a hold of the trailer somehow. There's rumors and speculation it might have been a YouTube employee that got on the back end. Could have been this or that, who knows? But they got the trailer and they leaked it. And it started spreading around. Within 30 minutes, Rockstar had struck the account and all instances of the trailer that went up. And within about half an hour after that, they had published the GTA 6 trailer on their own pages. So right out of the gate, it was kind of stumbling because it didn't go the way that they wanted it to go. However, the trailer is already, after a day, at 109 million views. Probably more because YouTube kind of is slow with updating views, especially on viral videos. So hugely successful video, literally the most successful video in YouTube history. It beat out a Mr. Beast video for the most views in a single day after just like 18 hours or 19 hours. Like, it was crazy how many people were watching this. Oh yeah, you remember the 301 view counter? Yeah. That it's like that. If that was still around, this would be stuck at 301 views today, like even still. So started a little clunky, but it is here, and we actually do have the trailer to look at. And basically there's some limitations. I can't just hit play because Rockstar copyright strikes their own trailers, which is extremely rare. I can't think of any other major publishers that do that regularly, but Rockstar does. So I'm just going to kind of skip around it. We'll look at stills because I think that'll work better. But I mean, right at the outset, what strikes me is the color palette. We had seen like the leaks of some of the concept art. We had seen concepts for the logo, which of course now is like purple, and then leading down into the warm oranges and yellows. And this color palette, I mean, again, look at the little frame in the bottom left versus the logo. They have managed to so precisely match the artistic design of the logo and the game's vibe that they are even getting it passively in the environment using natural lighting. And I cannot even begin to describe how crazy impressive and cool that is. Like, it's kind of the chicken and the egg. Which came first? Did they come up with this lighting scheme when you're out exploring and running around and navigating, and then they decided to use this color palette for the logo, or was it vice versa? Who knows? But they've managed to really nail the tone. The things that jump out to me when I saw this personally was, for one, we have the prison in the background back here. So there is a prison, which we're going to see more of in just a few minutes. There was also a prison in GTA 5 in the desert area, but it wasn't really used for a whole lot. But it seems like this one is going to have a much bigger role. And then also, this is perhaps really stupid, but it's just something that stood out to me, considering this game is set in basically Miami. There's a pickup truck bringing a boat on a trailer, which to me suggests that you could actually have boats that you purchase and that you can carry around the map and drop and deploy in different areas and stuff. And I think that that's super cool because I like boating. Beyond this, they go on after that. We skip forward to some barbed wire, again, maintaining the color palette. Not much to say here. Then they skip forward and we get our first look at Lucia. Or Lucia, I don't know how it's expected to be pronounced, but right off the bat, I mean, the quality of the lighting is, I think, what stands out. Is this the best character model we've seen in games to this point? I'm honestly not sure. There's been some amazing work done by like, Naughty Dog, but the lighting quality and post-processing is where it's not even close. Like it's just not even close. It's just crazy. Like Rockstar is really, really good at the ambient lighting, at cinematic lighting in every little bitty thing. And I'll continue to point this out as we go through the trailer. Like there's so many little bitty things involved with this that it's kind of hard to put into words. You can see everything from the shallow depth of field that's managed to be done perfectly, like without any notes whatsoever, to the god rays and the shafts of light coming in, the warmth and the subsurface scattering where the light hits her skin and then diffuses through the skin realistically and then bounces back out, so there's a slight glow to it. There's just so much little detail involved with it. It is wildly impressive. And when I talk about cinematic lighting, I mean there's a concept in, I don't know if it would be art or painting or photography or whatever, but there is one thing called, let me pull up an example. It's called Rembrandt lighting, and it goes back to Rembrandt, shocker, the painter, and he kind of pioneered this concept for basic lighting, which is that you have a key light, your subject, the camera, and then a reflector to give kind of some light fill. And then usually there's also a catch light on the back end to light up the hair to separate you from the background. But it's characterized by a triangle that appears on the cheek. So you can see here, there's a triangle on the cheek, and that's a telltale sign of Rembrandt lighting. Okay. And you can see it in all of these paintings by Rembrandt. If you look at any like really professional photographer or really cinematic looking picture, you're probably going to see these little remnants of Rembrandt lighting with the triangle. Okay. So now that I've said it, you're never going to be able to unsee it. Okay. Everywhere you look. And in this case, you're going to see the same exact things are employed all over this trailer because again, Rockstar is just that good with lighting that they can put a scene into the office of like a prison administrator or parole officer. I'm not sure what her job is, but they can still have extremely cinematic lighting. It's crazy. It's crazy. As they continue on, I mean, there's some light dialogue that I don't know if there's a whole lot to take away from it, but then they cut to sequences of boats driving or catamarans driving. We see sharks and dolphins, and every little bit of it is just freakishly beautiful. Like it's just insane. I saw somebody do a side-by-side comparison showing the game like compared to the real life shot. Somebody went out to this beach with a drone and captured at the exact same angle, the same shot. And I think it looks better in the game. Like no joke. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. And the level of depth and detail involved with all of this is just crazy. It's just wild. Right off the bat, it makes a really good first impression and sets the tone. They continue to go on. I mean, you can see the city seems pretty expansive. As they continue to clip along, we see apartment buildings. There's a ton of detail where you can see it's not just the same exact balcony copied and pasted all over the place. Like this one has what looks like maybe a pool, donut on the deck walkout, and then over here there's like a lawn chair, and then here they have towels hung over. There's a lot of hand placed detail. Even over here, towels placed. There's like an umbrella, I think, which is weird because it's in shaded covers. I don't know why they'd need that, but it's really, really well done. And then we see some of the marshlands, and I forget what they call these, just propeller boats or something. I don't know. I don't watch Duck Dynasty. I have no idea what I'm talking about with that, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. As I choke on my own throat. And then they show wildlife. This is something we didn't really get to see a lot of in GTA 5. But like there were wildlife systems in GTA 5, but really not very much at all. And then they developed a ton of stuff for Red Dead Redemption 2, and it looks like all of that's just come over to GTA 6. So all of those wildlife systems and natural systems that were in that game, which had a huge hunting component to it, and of course the whole game was set outside basically, now that's coming to GTA 6 as well, and that's freaking awesome to see. And then we get our first look at crowds and crowd density. The first thing that stood out to me was this fellow over here. You see there's a girl kind of leaning over doing something, and he's got his phone. He's taken his chance, I guess, to try and snap a photo. I'd like to think that he's with her, but he might just be a Floridian pervert. Who knows? But there's that. There's also a little bitty dog as well running around, little chihuahua, which is pretty cute. So that's there. The quality of models involved with this is crazy. I mean, the character models are all top notch. The hair simulations are all crazy good. Again, the post processing with the bloom and with the sort of haze effect off in the distance is very, very well done. There is, of course, like draw distance limitations. You can see they probably set this up very strategically where they had this pickup here and then all of these umbrellas here to block, so you can't see that there aren't many NPCs being simulated off in the distance, but that's okay. I mean, again, it's a video game. It's not a freaking life simulator, but what is here is very, very well done and very cool. And you can see like the sand being kicked up by their feet as they run. It's just very well done. And then we cut to some boating sequences. You can see big jet airliners going off in the distance, huge shipping containers, speedboats galore, tons of stuff. And then highway driving, Kelly County VCI Airport, Stockyard downtown. I mean, again, just every bit of it looks fantastic. Most of this shore is probably, I don't know if they're taking a picture. It kind of looks like it. So like they're taking a picture of her outside of the car. That's what it looks like, at least to me. That he's like filming her on his phone. Kind of looks like that. But yeah, all the little details. Like you see the headlight catches the sign as you drive past it and then leaves it. Like there's so much little bitty lighting detail. That's like what mostly is standing out to me is just the quality of the lighting is wildly impressive. Lots of cars that suggests a lot of car customization, which is cool. We get a better look at some party environments, which make it rain Mondays. Yeah, you gotta have events at your place of business. You know, you gotta do it. And then we see some character models. Again, the quality is just fantastic. I mean, there's nothing else to say other than it's just very, very good. One thing to note also that we're going to talk about in a little bit is that this is 30 frames. And as we like go through it, you can see the quality is super, super high. So it's not like super noticeable that it's running at a lower frame rate, but I do want to just make you bear this in mind because we're going to circle back to it in just a little bit. Okay, it's going to be relevant, but they kind of say what's up, and then they go in and you see more nightlight environments, tons of yachts and boats, super yachts as well. I wonder if you can buy your own super yacht. You can in GTA Online. I'm wondering if you can do that now in GTA 6. That'd be super cool. The variety of cars is also crazy high. I mean, try to spot the same car in two locations. You're probably not going to see it. It's just very, very densely packed. Then you see some nightlife. Again, crazy, crazy dense. Amazing lighting, nightclubs and parties. This just looks straight up like a CGI render, but it's not. It's actually running in the game. And I mean, again, just the quality of the water simulation. It's just crazy, crazy cool. And I don't really know what else to say other than there's a ton of big ships and boats and stuff. And I'm wondering if you can hijack those as well. Hopefully you can. That would be super, super cool. And then we see, this is actually one of the things that's been causing a lot of debate recently, is whether this is Lucia as well, or if this is another character. And honestly, I'm not sure. People have pointed like the mole on her eye or cheek right beneath her eye. And then there's this beauty mark right here on the outside of her lip. And then if we go back to Lucia, like right here, you can see that she has the same mole right there, but the mole here is a little bit on the inside of whatever that crease is. I don't remember what it's called, coming off of your nose. I have no idea. The other one doesn't, oh my God. I'm too zoomed in and I hit play accidentally. The other model character doesn't have these other beauty marks and moles and stuff like around the chin and stuff. People are saying, oh, well, that's just makeup. So it's not going to be there, but it's because it's makeup that's covering it up. I don't know. I just don't know. I think there's reason for debate. I have no idea if it's the same model or same character. I have no idea. And it doesn't really matter. Who cares? But this has weirdly started a lot of drama, is people debating whether this is Lucia or not, which is funny to me. Beyond that, I mean, you can see this is some sort of party up in the top area of one of those skyscrapers. Makes me wonder if this is like the player's apartment or if this is something for a main story quest line or something. But again, it's just very, very well done. I mean, the level of detail everywhere is just fantastic. So it looks great. And then we get the big Vice City sign. And then we get what is perhaps the funniest part of the trailer, which is all of these little kind of vignettes of storylines within Florida. And if you don't know, Florida is just like a bizarre place. I've been there a lot. I like to vacation in Florida a lot. But if like the stereotype and the joke is that if anything crazy happens in the US, it's probably in Florida. Like if there's some guy that's caught walking his pet alligator, it was in Florida. If there's some guy that has tattooed himself completely to look like the Joker and then gets arrested for indecent exposure, it's probably in Florida. Like, it's just a crazy, crazy place. And sure enough, they've managed to hold to that same standard here. And they do this with all of these kind of faux social media posts in the game. But these are actually direct, like, I guess you could say they were taken from real life videos and clips that have also been released and people have seen, because there's actual videos of people like pulling alligators out of their swimming pools because this will happen. I mentioned this before, but Nikki and I were actually looking at houses in Florida around Tampa, Orlando, Kissimmee, a bunch of places like that. And it's actually pretty rare to have a pool like this that's just open to the outside, because this happens. Most pools, especially if the house is like 20 years older or newer than 20 years old, they all have enclosures built around the pools because this happens. There will just be an alligator swimming in your pool that wandered in, just like a stray dog or squirrel. It's crazy. So this unfortunately is a real thing that does actually happen. But yeah, it's real. This was an actual video of somebody riding on top of their car twerking. This was just taken from that actual video. Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, the donuts in the city streets. This happens. I did see a video like this of somebody doing donuts, and they lost control like right here, and they just plowed into like 10 people. I won't show the video here for obvious reasons, but if you want to find it, you can. Don't do donuts in city streets with people standing around publicly. I'm sure I don't have to say this, but don't do that. It's stupid. And you can run over a lot of people very quickly. And then more people dancing. The best song right now, long time coming. We really out here. Out here. Out here, maybe? I don't know. This the shiz bomb. Finna spin the block with this one. Hey, yo, catch a vibe. All of these comments feel like they are something I would say if I was trying to be really hip, like the cool kids. Finna spin the block with this one. Should I start saying that? Whenever we see something really cool in a trailer, should I be like, finna spin the block with this one? I feel like I should. Maybe I'll finna do that. And then an alligator climbing into a convenience store. This is also something that's happened in Florida, because of course it has. I like how casual some of these people are. Like, this guy's leaning against his truck and it's just like, yep, another day in Florida. just another day. Just another day. Dude, Florida is just such a crazy world. I'll tell you what. And then we get to see like a SWAT cam. Basically, it's actually kind of cool. They have the body cam logo, their version of it. So this makes me wonder if this is going to be in the game or at least be like a part of a mission or some mechanic or something. But yeah, it looks like the player is playing as somebody breaking into like a drug den or something, which is kind of cool. And then a naked man running from the police. This is also something that happened in Florida because of course it is. Yeah, somebody standing on their truck as they're driving it also happened in Florida. The guy with the really sunburnt, saggy back and the visor watering his pond. Yep, this is also a real thing that happened in Florida. It's just a crazy place. Florida is just crazy, and I think that's the takeaway. What's funny though is like people have brought this up. GTA is normally like a parody of American civilization and culture. It's supposed to take it and be like, look how outrageous this can be if we turn the knob up a little bit. Everything they're showing in this trailer is just America. Like there's nothing exaggerated here. You can find the actual video clips of all of this happening in reality, shot for shot. You know, it's like none of this is actually an exaggeration of reality. It's just reality, which I thought was really, really funny. They also have on this Thrillbilly Mud Club. This makes me wonder if it's part of like a TV show maybe you audition for. You know, in GTA 5 there was like the sort of X Factor spin-off parody show that they had. Maybe this is like Thrillbilly Mud Club is a TV show you go and you have to like wrestle in or something. I don't know. But it seems to be taken from a cutscene where they're showing the show. That's at least what I would take away from the logo being on screen. But I mean, also tons of mud systems. The same systems they developed for Red Dead 2 seem to be present here, which is pretty cool. Yeah, party time. The lady with the two hammers in her PJs. Yep, this is also real life Florida. This also reminded me a lot of Cyberpunk. Just all the greens and reds at a rave, which is pretty cool. So, looks really good. It cures emotions. America's favorite disassociative, Angstapan. I cannot wait for all of the little like commercials and poster boards and stuff for all of this. It's gonna be crazy. Yeah, one thing about the mud section that people brought up, thank you for reminding me in chat. It appears that there are kids, because these are like, even if you take into account the perspective shift, it appears that these are smaller than the full-size adults. So for the first time, I think ever in Grand Theft Auto, there's going to be kids in the game, which it wouldn't be the first time because in Red Dead Redemption 2, there were kids, of course, but they're still pretty rare to find. But apparently in GTA 6, there's going to be kids. I do with that what you will. I don't really know what to do with that or take away from it, but that's the thing. And then beyond that, they go along more driving. You see the police cars coming in. I just love Angstapan. I love that. Then we get our first look at the male protagonist that's been rumored for a long time. And he actually looks a little bit different than he did in the leaks that happened last year. And I actually think he looks better personally, but we don't get to see a whole lot of him. It's definitely, they're framing it as Lucia is the primary player character, and then he's sort of like the secondary character. Then we see Lucia again, and again, it's all framed around this Bonnie and Clyde concept that's been rumored for years and years and years, and it seems to be true. Again, you see cars flipping, all of this, again, real Florida stuff. Remember I mentioned the crazy guy tattooed to look like the Joker. This is a real thing that also happened, and they brought that up in the game. And then street racing, dirt bike, dirt bags. Cops failed to stop thugs on motorbikes terrorizing Vice City. Leonida man sucked up in waterspout demands the city buy him a new suit. There's all sorts of stuff like that. More character models that look crazy, crazy good. Again, like High Rollers Mag, High Rollers Lifestyle. It seems like there's a lot of these social media posts or advertisements or TV commercials and things that are in the game that they're showing here, which is interesting. Makes me wonder how much of a role that's going to take place in the game. And then you see, I mean, this is again another example of just the crazy level of detail in these Rockstar games. Every single bottle, every bag of chips, it's all just so carefully modeled and textured, and there's like barely any repeated assets. It's just crazy the level of attention to detail they've taken. It's wild. It's just crazy. But then you see more driving around, more racing around, this little thing. Trust. With a beer, controller, some money on the table. And then they storm into this. And again, I mean, you see just the level and quality of lighting is just crazy. But this is kind of the story. This is how they're framing it, is that it's a Bonnie and Clyde adventure type of thing. And it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I don't know what else to say. Now, a lot of people have been like, well, we don't actually get to see a whole lot. We don't actually get to see gameplay. We don't get to see combat. We don't get to see any of that. And that is true. But every Rockstar trailer for the last like 15 years that they've done have shown the game actually running. It's not actually like pre-rendered cinematics passed off as gameplay. It's actually in the game. And so I would fully expect that this is how the game actually looks running on a PlayStation 5 or Series X. I don't know what the resolution is like or how they manage there, but I would guess that this is actually what the game looks like when you're playing it. And when you transition to gameplay, it's probably pretty similar, because same thing with Red Dead 2. The game looks great in cinematics and it still looks great in gameplay. Like I don't expect there to be a huge shift from gameplay to cinematics. But perhaps the elephant in the room for a lot of people is that it only runs at 30 frames as far as we are aware. The trailer's in 30 frames and they're not saying or discussing 60 frames or anything like that. And here's the deal. By the time this comes out, because it was announced to be releasing in 2025, which is a little bit later than people were expecting. And actually a good number of investors are not thrilled about this date, because they were led to believe it was going to release holiday of 24. Hearing it's coming 25, which probably means it gets delayed into late 25. That's not great because it pushes it out of the initial fiscal year they were expecting. So a good number of investors actually watched this trailer and were pretty frustrated by it, which I thought was interesting. But setting that aside, by the time this comes out, we will be 5 years into the PS5 and Series X and S, I guess, console generation. These console generations are only expected to go on for 7 to 8 years. We will be the majority of the way through the generation when this comes out, okay? And I think we've been very fortunate to have a lot of games support 60 frames on console, but at the same time, part of the reason that they've been able to support 60 frames is because they are games built largely during the PS4 and Xbox One generation, and then they're like cross-generational, or maybe later in development they were delayed out of COVID, and so they got the chance to focus on next gen only, and so they were kind of upgraded a little bit, but not that much, and they offer 60 frames on the PS5. But like overall, they're not games built from the ground up for the PS5 and Series X. At least a lot of them that we've gotten have not been. And as a result, 60 FPS has been relatively easy to achieve for a lot of these games, and people have come to expect it, and they've started demanding it. I mean, you guys remember the outrage when Bethesda said that Starfield was going to run at 30 on console. People lost their minds. Now, the reason I was frustrated by that is specifically because it was a first-person shooter. I don't like playing first-person games at low frame rates because they make me motion sick. That's just the fact of the matter. Like 30 FPS on console, first-person, makes me motion sick. So if that's the only option, I probably can't play the game. Thankfully, it also launched on PC where I could get faster frame rates and it was okay, but that's just personal to me. Other people just don't like it in principle or whatever, but for me, it's because it actually makes me sick. As for GTA 6, though, it's a third-person game. 30 FPS really doesn't bother me. It didn't bother me when Red Dead launched. It didn't bother me when GTA 5 launched. It didn't bother me when Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom launched at 30. I don't think 30 FPS is that big of a deal. I understand a lot of people are frustrated by it and are saying, hey, we're in 2023, and by that time, we'll be in 2025. We should be able to achieve it. But frankly, like, You have to remember the PS5 and like Series X and S, they're considered budget, like computational hardware. Like they're considered to be entry points for people to get into gaming. And then if you want the high end experience, you go to PC. On the other flip side, it looks like the game is not coming. GTA 6 is not coming to PC at launch. They've only mentioned PS5 and the Series X and S, which is not surprising at all because they've never launched on PC the same day for the last like 15 years. I don't think they ever have, but at the very least they didn't with GTA 5 or Red Dead. And certainly not for Red Dead Redemption 1 back in 2010. So I understand it's frustrating for people, but like these are devices that are built to toe the line between affordability and power, and they lean much more towards affordability. And looking at this trailer, I can understand why they might need to run it at 30. And frankly, I think most people, when they're playing this on console, are going to be playing this at 30 and very quickly forget that it's running at 30. And they're not going to care because the rest of the game is going to be so good. Like, I just think if you're playing GTA 6 and your takeaway is, no, I mean, I would have loved it, but it's only at 30, you were never going to be happy. Most people are going to play this and be so blown away by everything else going on that the frame rate's going to be an afterthought, which is probably what it should be for most people. And the other piece of it too is, I mean, you can tell when we're doing these freeze frames, Rockstar employs a very good use of motion blur. You can see it all over the place whenever anything is in motion. What a great freeze frame. I really know how to pick them. But you can see it. It just smooths out each one of these frames so well. And you can tell it like within this. But what this does is when it's actually in motion at 30 frames, you can't really tell the stuttery nature of it. It smooths it out from frame to frame and makes it feel much better than just a raw 30 with no motion blur or anything on. I know some people like absolutely despise motion blur, and I understand that. And in some cases with some games, it can be done really poorly and it can make you motion sick or whatever else. But Rockstar's always had a great implementation of it, and it kind of reflects real life and also cinema, because cinema cameras, they have something called the rule of 180, which is basically that whatever your target frame rate is, you flip it. And so if my target frame rate, like for this stream, is 120 or not 120, is 60 frames per second, this camera, I will have set the shutter speed at 120ths or 1/120th of a second, which means as I move my hand, if you were to pause the frame as I move my hand quickly, it will be blurred because the lens or the sensor was exposed to light for 1/120th of a second, but commensurate to the frame rate, it looks right. And at 30 frames, you have 1/60th of a second usually is how long the light is actually coming into the sensor per frame, which is what makes it give this more aggressive blur to smooth it out. And so I think they've always done a really good job of smoothing this out, and Rockstar is one of the best in terms of implementation of motion blur, but that's perhaps just my opinion. Just my opinion. Altogether, I don't think it's that big of a deal, frankly. That is a good point, actually, Kaido. The PS5 Pro will be running this at 60 frames. Well, so yeah. So apparently, Sony is working on a PS5 Pro variant. Xbox apparently is not. They consider, and this is again just the most baffling thing ever, they consider the Series X. I'm going to pull up the exact quote because I don't want people to think I'm making this up. Let me get it. Where's the exact phrase? It was from Phil Spencer. Let's see. Nope, this doesn't have the actual quote. Darn it. I don't know. Okay. Well, I won't dwell on it too long. But basically, Phil Spencer has said in the past, according to my recollection, that he considers the Series X to be their mid-gen refresh, and the Series S was their main console for this generation. So they're like, we already gave people the mid-gen refresh that's more powerful, which is just, it's baffling because clearly the PS4 Pro is going to be a lot more powerful than this, and it's going to feel really weird to have games running way better on PlayStation than on the Series X, and that's just going to be more jarring for consumers and give them less of a reason to buy a Series X. But anyways, Sony apparently is planning a PlayStation 5 Pro, which presumably would be targeting 60 frames on GTA 6. So it's possible that you could be getting 60 frames on the PS5 Pro, but you wouldn't get it on Xbox, which is, to me, I mean, it's just so baffling that Xbox is just pretending like they don't need to do it. It's baffling. That's a whole other thing. You guys know how I feel about their strategy in terms of consoles this generation. It's been very, very weird to me, the decisions that they've made. But anyway, every part of this trailer, though, across the board, just looks very, very good, very Rockstar. I think it sets the tone, which is the goal, and it gets people excited for the game because it looks really, really good. It is still like a year and a half, 2 years out, which, if you look at their track record and past history, I think they announced Red Dead Redemption 2 in 2016 in October, and we didn't get the game until October of 2018. So I would not be surprised at all if this is like late 2025 and it gets pushed out of that fiscal year for 2024 to 25. I wouldn't be shocked at all. It's a ways off, but now the elephant is, in the room, is out of the bag, and it's just, we know it's official now, and it looks really good. I think it's probably going to be like 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever. It's going to be a while before we get another trailer, I would guess, because that's typically how it works with them. But now, cat's out of the bag. It's real. Everybody can chill out. And lots of people are super pumped for it. So that's good. And I mean, in terms of negative takeaways, I'm not sure if there's a whole lot negative to say about it. I think in general, it looks pretty fire. I don't know. I think in general, people have been pretty impressed by it. Yeah, we waited this long. We can wait some more. Yeah. Rockstar is going to charge me $100 for the game. I know some people are surprised by this take that I have. I think it's reasonable and not that crazy. I think they will have a $70 variant. It'll be the standard edition and people will buy that in droves. But I do think they're going to have an early access that's like 3, 4, 5 days of early access that's locked behind like $100 or $120 version. I really do believe that they're going to do that because it just makes too much sense. Like, I want you to be completely honest. Maybe we'll do a poll. I don't know if we can do a poll. Let's be completely honest with ourselves. If you got access to this on, say, the 10th, or you can pay an extra $50 and get access to it a week early, and all of your friends will be so jealous. And a lot of your friends will also be paying this because they want to get access to it early, and you don't want story spoilers, so you're going to pay it too. I think a lot of people are going to be taking $50, like paying $50 for it. And I think people who are like, no, I don't have friends. It's okay, Chase. I think a lot of people, even if they say, no, I wouldn't, I think a lot of them would. I'm just going to be real. Like, I really do. I really do. Only if on PC, I mean, I just, the whole PC thing, I understand people are really frustrated by it, but they've literally never, as far as I'm aware, launched on PC one of these massive games the same year as the console release. They just haven't. And part of it is the online component. They haven't touched on it in this trailer or anything, but presumably they're coming out with a brand new version of of GTA Online, which is going to be totally revamped, set in this map and everything else. But as part of that, the PC community does bring a lot of players, but it also brings a flood of cheaters, of hackers, of exploiters. It brings many problems with it as well. So if they're going to come along, spend a year with the game on console, with the online component on console doing really, really well and being really healthy. And then they bring PC support a year later with, all the bells and whistles, and then also supporting the online component as well. Perhaps with some extra cheat mitigation and stuff in place. I think that is the way to go. I don't blame them for thinking that way. I know there's been some articles posted where people are like, there's no technical reason that they couldn't get it working on PC on day one. And yeah, that's true. They have tons of money. If they really wanted to do it, they could. But the truth of the matter is that they don't have to, and it will still break records. And they're also going to sell 2 copies to pretty much everybody that has a PC that wants to push this. Like, let's be honest. If you bought the game on PS5 or PS5 Pro or Xbox Series X, and then they release it on PC and you have a big PC, you're going to buy it again. Just like you did with Red Dead, sucker. Just like you did with GTA 5, you sucker. Like, we're all going to do it, okay? We're all going to do it. Let's stop beating around the bush, pretending like we're all so much holier than thou. We're all going to do it. Hashem will hold out for us. Hashem will not buy it. But yeah. Yeah, Luke, you will. Yes, you got me. Yes, you're not surprising me. I'm telling you right now. I will buy the game on console, and when it comes out on PC, I'll get it again to see if my RTX whatever will be on then, like 7090 or whatever, can run it super well. We're all going to do it. So hold on, I missed a ton of these. I'm sorry, everybody. Yeah, no shit, the YouTuber's buying it on multiple platforms. I know, right? Like, oh no, say it ain't so. It's like, yeah, I mean, not to mention that, like, it's also part of the job, so it'll be like, we'll do videos on it and stuff. But yeah, it's funny to me. Yeah, the graphics will be insane. What is actually crazy is that we're going to be on like the 50 series, maybe the 60 series of graphics cards by the time this comes to PC. So like, we're talking like the 4090 is already crazy powerful. You're talking about 2 generations above this potentially is when this comes to PC. So just imagine what they'll be able to do. Totally a write-off, right? If we make content with it, then yeah, it would be. It's like, I couldn't buy a copy of a game just for my own enjoyment, never make a video on it, and then write that off. That wouldn't be legitimate. But if it's used for the purpose of generating and sustaining revenues, then you can write it off. But with all of this, I just because I don't want all the burden on me, I have a CPA company that I work with, and so I give them all the stuff, and I let them make the decision so that it's not totally up to me just being arbitrary. But I explained to them, of course, like, yeah, we made videos with this, we did this, and this with this copy of the game. So I think it would qualify, but you guys decide with all of your education. Shocker, they've gone to school for this for years and years. They probably know what they're doing. When do you think the PC port comes out? Do you want to know my honest answer? I think this comes out probably, realistically, I think it comes out in like October of 2025. I think that's when it actually launches. As for when we get the PC port, I'm guessing we probably don't get it till like a year and a half later. I don't think we see it until probably early 2027. That's my honest opinion. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to accept it. That's my expectation, is that this is probably not coming to PC until 2027. What's the highest frame rate the human eye can perceive? It's kind of a flawed question because the human eye doesn't see in frames per second. It's just a steady flow of signals, basically. So some people have more sensitive eyes and can see like finer detail, just like with color. Some people can see finer gradations of color. But there's not like a highest frame rate that like every human eye can see. Yeah, isn't it kind of crazy to think that the 3080 is probably going to be like a really outdated card and is going to really struggle to run this? Isn't that weird? Like, it's so weird, but that's where we are, man. That's where we are. It is so refreshing to finally be at a point where we are seeing truly next generation games, like games that were built to blow us away. And that's what this is. Like, this was built for the modern hardware that we have, not for the PS4 and then ported forward. This was built for this hardware, and you can tell. You can tell. Like, the fact that this is presumably running, because it's only been announced for console so far, so this is presumably running on a PS5 or Series X dev kit. That's crazy. Like, this is running on hardware that you have sitting on your shelf. And it looks like this. Granted, it's years out from being actually released and playable to the broader public, but still. It's just crazy. Just crazy. Okay, let me catch up on all of these super chats and stuff, because we've had a handful come in, and I'm very appreciative, and I love you all dearly. Thank you. Let's see. Sheriff, thank you for subbing at tier 1. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Luke, you're making me hyped for the game now. Well, yeah, so let me say, I don't think it's unreasonable to be very, very excited for GTA 6. You're talking about a studio that basically never misses. And so if they're making this and it looks amazing, like, I don't think it's unreasonable to be like, yeah, it's probably going to be really good. Just like I said at the top of the stream, you can look at something like Game Mill and be like, oh, that company, everything they touch is crap. And so probably their next game is going to be a disaster and terrible. That's fair to say, I think. Just like it's fair to say that Rockstar never misses, and so their next game is probably going to be really, really good. Let me catch up on here real quick. All of the stuff. Urban came in. Thank you for the sub with Prime. Appreciate you. Let me catch up on all this, because then we're going to hop over and we're going to get Mr. Joraptor on here, and we're going to do the podcast. It's going to be awesome. Let me catch up on all of these. You guys are super generous, and we have a ton of people out here. It's crazy. Tumake94, thank you. I bought Red Dead 2 only when it came to PC. I did eventually get spoiled because of it, but did hold on. Pretty sure I personally can hold off until then. Well, more power to you, my friend. You have more self-discipline than me. Tell you what. I mean, shocker, right? The guy with all the Lego sets and a problem with impulse purchasing. He struggles with impulse control. Yeah, shocker. But yeah, good on you. Jacob, thank you for the 2. Are you worried about the GTA 6 story? I wouldn't say worried. I am cautious with it, because a lot of the head honchos that made Red Dead 2 story so great have left, and left like 3 years ago. So they did some early work with GTA 6, but not a whole lot. And some people are like, oh, I'm sure the story was completely written by then. My understanding after talking to developers and writers, like, it's not something that is just done. Oh, what is this?
Let them take you somewhere. It's really interesting.
Street taco Pringles. Oh, Nikki's asking me to eat it right now. I'm scared. She handed them to me and said, let them take you somewhere.
It feels like there's a roast beef in your mouth. Right?
It's weird. It's like, it's not bad, but it does feel kind of like Star Trek, where you'd pop a pill and it's a whole meal in just a pill, but it's a chip. Like, you take it and it feels like you just ate a taco. That's weird. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, love you too. Huh. Excuse me. Dino Gooch, where can I buy that skull you have behind you? Just look up on Etsy resin skull and you'll find it. I think I got it with a gift card I had. I think it was like $40-50, but it's just a resin skull that you can get. Yeah. Sorry, I mean it's a human skull. It's real. But yeah, you can just get it off Etsy. Let me continue catching up on these. Rockhaug. Let's see. Hey, Luke, what was the song you played in the background with the woman singing? I really need to know. It was like 45 minutes ago. Oh, I bet you're talking about the Wolven Storm. If you look up on YouTube, just Priscilla's song, The Witcher 3, or The Wolven Storm, The Witcher 3, you'll find it. Yeah, it's a very, very good song. Straight from The Witcher 3. Very, very good. Yeah, sorry, that's Grandma Sue. Yeah, you're right. Let's see. Fantasy Files, thank you for the 5. Just got here. Wanted to say I have even more respect for you after the apology. It takes a real man to set aside one's pride like that. Like I said, I think everybody should be willing to own their mistakes and the stupid things they did when they were 19. And, because we all have done very, very stupid stuff. And I think we should be honest about it, because it's kind of like, let you, or who among you has not done something totally idiotic when they were 19 years old? Let him cast the first stone. Like, I think it should be something that we can openly talk about. Otherwise, like, we're all just lying to ourselves and pretending like we're all perfect. Like, no, we've all made tons of mistakes and we should be real about it. Like, come on. Yeah. So thank you, Fantasy Files. Appreciate you. Champagne, thank you for the 5 months of support. Luke, do you think they had a 65 or 60 frame version or update for the PS5 Pro? I think so, especially because the PS4 Pro allegedly is coming next year. So it will have been out for like a year by the time GTA 6 launches. So I would guess it gets a PS5 Pro version upgrade. I would assume it gets like 60 FPS support or something like that. Like they did back at the end of last gen, where they do like a checkerboarded upscale to 4K thing at a lower resolution, but with improved frame rates. I would guess something like that. So yeah. Darth Huffle, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Keep it up. Thank you, my friend. Much love. Forged Horizons, 10 months of support. Oh, baby. Hello, Mr. Luke Stevens Live. Hello. I hope you and the Stevens family are doing well as everything starts to cool down, GTA 5 aside, or GTA 6 aside. Yeah, it's good. I'm hoping that we just have a nice, calm Christmas season. But like with all of this, like I had somebody send me a message and they're like, Luke, I'm so sorry you're going through all of this. Like, let me be clear. I'm not a victim, okay? Like, you're talking about a YouTuber that makes very good money talking about video games for a living. This isn't that serious. Like, gamer drama, yes. Like, I did something stupid when I was 19, yes. But like, I'm still in a very privileged and fortunate situation. And I just want to like be very clear about that. Like, this whole thing is kind of stupid at the end of the day. And like, we're just talking about video games. It's not that serious. What was very serious was like my son going to the hospital, which is why like everything else was put to the side while we dealt with that. But he's doing great. And, it changes your perspective and you learn to be much more, I don't know, a lot of that other stuff feels really stupid and small in comparison. Let me just message Joe Raptor. Ready to do this? I think what we'll do is we'll just have Joe Raptor join this stream and then we'll just upload the podcast as its own separate thing. Does that work for you, Jacob, if you're in chat? Do. Da. Sorry, I've seen a lot of streamers where they just like totally stop what they're doing and just type for like a solid minute or two. And it makes me really uncomfortable. So I'm sorry I'm doing that. Or I'm like, okay, guys, everybody. You know what? I should get like a really clicky keyboard, where it's just like, you ready? Okay, guys, just a second. Okay, what were we talking about? Because I've seen the pro streamers do it. I feel like I need to do it too. I got to get professional. Keyword ASMR. Yeah, that shit drives me crazy. There's a lot of funny little things I've seen like big streamers do where I'm like, I guess I could probably get away with that too, but it triggers me when I see them do it. It's just like, for me, it's the guys that eat like really sloppy meals on stream like Mac. Oh, dude, I forget who it was. There was some like maybe it was Tim the Tapman or something, like a big streamer that I think is pretty cool and really funny. And he was eating like mac and cheese or like a burrito bowl or something with tons of sauce. And so it was like that kind of sound. And he was just like shoveling it in his mouth and like talking while he's doing it. So he's watching like TikToks like, oh, look at that. And I was like, what a, huh. Can we not? Can we just not? I know. I realize I say this right after I ate a Pringle on stream, and I'm very sorry for that. Don't cancel me, please. Oh God. Did you see the day before hilarious PR statement? I don't think. Oh wait, I think I did. The thing where they were like, "Now you can't doubt us. You can't doubt us now." I hope no one doubts us anymore. It was really weird. It was like Michael Scott. Well, Jan, maybe next time instead of underestimating me, you will estimate me. That's what it felt like. Burping is what does it for me. Oh, dude. The one that I actually really struggle with is Dark Side Phil, because he snorts. Like, and he doesn't mute himself. He can. He's done like podcasts with other creators where he'll mute himself whenever he has to like snort to clear his sinuses. But when he's just streaming to his audience, he just does it. He just does it. I'm just going to play like a second of this just because I want you to see that I'm not making it up. And then I'll turn it off because it's super, it hurts my heart and brain.
To the pre-stream podcast.
So like he'll just do that like every third sentence during the stream, and it drives me crazy. Like you can't watch it. You can't watch it. It's bad. Don't do it. Sorry. Charlie burps like an animal too, but Phil snort makes me cringe. Yeah. I guess I haven't seen Charlie burp. I haven't done my research on Charlie's burps. Let me try calling Mr. Joraptor. I gotta turn on virtual camera. There we go. Maybe not. Maybe not. Is he here?
Yes.
Yes, he is. The man, the myth, the legend. Okay, everybody. Let me get the screen shared.
Hello, chats.
The legend is here. He's joined us.
I wanted to do maybe an Avatar cosplay, but ran out of time.
Dude, if you had done that, you're just like totally straight face. Oh wait, hold on, my scene is all screwed up. Just totally straight face, like nothing is going on. Just hey everybody, just here. Sorry, I upgraded my camera, and so now all of my scenes in OBS are like super out of whack. But there we go. The one and only Joraptor. He's here. He's with us.
Hello. How is everyone
us.
doing?
How is everyone doing? Let's see. Wait, wrong mouse. Okay. So for those of you not familiar, we're going to do the Free Roam podcast. Normally we do this as a separate event, but today, because I'm unprofessional and a little scatterbrained, we are starting a little bit late, and we're just going to roll it into this stream, and it'll be its own separate upload when we jump into it.
Yeah. I was already like, did I miss like some sort of time jump that you got? Like, because of course we're in completely different parts of the world, but you were just running late. That's no problem. I saw you were talking about GTA and stuff, and
yeah, oh baby,
that's great.
We got to talk about that. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. So, yeah, I guess we'll just
I got out of jail, says Chill Dog TV.
Oh, good.
Because of my outfit. I think, or whatever. I don't know.
It does actually, now that you say that.
Your cut his hair. No, I did not. But I moved it, so it looks like I cut like I can.
Or was it like a jail thing? Did they force you to cut your hair when you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But now they will know that I'm out. So if I move my hair like this, they won't see me.
That's great.
Yeah, Lucas, I'm the boss. Someone is talking Dutch. Well, good that everyone is here. Of course, for the show every Wednesday live. And thanks for everyone for reviewing on Spotify as well, if you're listening there, because we also post it everywhere on every podcast service. And yeah, every week we just talk about the biggest news or what we've been playing. And I think to segue into that, like we both put out our review.
Yes.
That you can watch on our main channels. And I haven't watched it yet. I saw the title. It's a mixed bag.
Yes, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is a mixed bag. We'll both share our thoughts. I mean, I do want to give you a shout out. You predicted exactly the Metacritic score on launch day. Jor said 74, and it's at a 74. I think I said, I was like, I'll be optimistic, 77.
Yeah.
Or like 76.
Yeah.
But it's, it's the game is, I think I said in my review, I put it at a C. It's just fine. It's good. Like especially if you're a fan of Avatar, I think you'll have a great time.
Oh,
with
yeah.
it. But there is a lot of clunk. There's a lot of things that I don't think work very well together, things that they designed that were supposed to interweave together, such as foraging, hunting, crafting, and then looting, and they just don't really click together that well. Combat and weapon variety is really minimal. Enemy variety is really minimal. There's a lot of weird clunk with it, but there is also a lot of good, and there's a lot of things that I've been really impressed with, such as the density of the world, the forests, the level of detail and models of plants and stuff, and interactivity is wild. It really is the next generation Ubisoft game we were promised. The biggest pet peeve I have with it is that they have constant fade to blacks, which is a pet peeve of mine, narratively speaking. But overall, like, I think the game is... It's good enough, and frankly, it's better than I was expecting it to be. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm on one end pleasantly surprised by some elements, but it is also what I kind of expected, and it's mostly that old school, sort of still PS4 style open world game from that generation, but put into a very nice Avatar, universe wrapping. Like you said, it looks amazing. It's the most beautiful Ubisoft world ever. You start out in this dense forest and you cannot see anything because there are a ton of trees, leaves. You can interact with the plants as well for platforming and stuff, so that's really cool. But then you move to the second region and suddenly it's more like a way open plains area where you can ride like a horse type mount, the dire horse, and then it just feels like a completely different region. So it's pretty cool that you move through this version of Pandora, or this part of Pandora that we haven't seen before. And I think that's really well done. I liked the parts of the story where you meet these new clans. So there are 3 different clans in the game. And it's interesting I think they always did a great job with that with the movies as well, that the world building is really strong. And I think they did a great job with showing what these clans were kind of about, how they were living, what their kind of thing is, and also what their struggle is with the RDA. So the first clan you go to, they, for example, are kind of tired of war because they just lost a very important person. So you try to kind of convince them to, still that it's still worth it to fight the RDA because it will only get worse if we don't do anything. And then the other tribe is way more war hungry, so they will be more at the forefront. So it's kind of cool, and those parts are great. But my kind of critique with the story was, no surprise, it's kind of forgettable, but that's kind of what you get with Avatar. Like it's the old white guy who's like the main villain, and it's like your most typical guy. They don't even try with this guy. And I mean, maybe that's just part of the franchise at this point, because I know like I can still like see the villains from the movies, but I don't know what their deal was. Like, I kind of forgot about them, and I think that will happen the same with this game.
Yeah.
But I do like some of the key characters from these Na'vi clans that you meet. But my kind of critique was, that you don't really spend a lot of time with them. So I kind of was getting attached to some of them, and then you already hear, oh, it's time to move on to the next clan, and then you don't really see these characters again. And I wish they would like go to your home base, or you would have like extra missions with them to get to know them better, maybe romance options. I think that would have been really cool, but they don't do that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like a really short TV episode, and then you move on to the next thing, and that kind of sucks. And I'm really curious if you noticed this, but I also said that I think the main campaign is very lonely. And what I mean by that is that it's really about, it's kind of a typical story, right? So you are abducted by the RDA at the start of the game, you break free, and you're like, you kind of want revenge, you want them to stop hurting the world, Pandora. So you go out and try to convince the other clans to join forces and fight the RDA together. So it's, of course, a story we've seen many times. But the problem with this game is, for me, that even though it's about this huge army of Na'vi going up against the RDA, it still feels like you're kind of doing everything alone. Because I don't think there's combat AI for the other Na'vi in the world. I've never seen them fight. You have cutscenes where it's like a Benji doing like a cool trick and taking out the helicopter, but then the cutscene is over, like you said, fade to black, and you're all alone again. And it's like, okay, but wasn't I supposed to infiltrate this base with this huge army that is like waiting for me over there? And they're like, you go scout ahead, we come later. And then you're stuck in this very boring looking gray RDA base, and you hear via the radio, yeah, we have this amazing fight, it's crazy out here. And you're like, okay, but I can't see it. And then you kind of see the result of that fight instead of being in that cool sort of big skill battle. So it's really weird that there's no moment where you're hunting with another Na'vi. It's really like, yeah, you go do it. I'm gonna, like, there's one side mission where it's like, oh, we really should take out the RDA. I'm gonna wait for you at this site close by. We're gonna take them on. And then you're there, and then this Navi's like, oh, I don't want to be surrounded by the metal of the RDA, so you go. And if you like know this, then you really see that they're riding around the fact that the Na'vi just cannot fight. So it's like a really strange sort of system.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was weird that, like, trying to avoid spoilers, there's a handful of characters that they kind of established really, really early on that I thought they were going to pair you with for a lot of gameplay encounters, and like Jor mentioned, the like combat encounters and stuff, kind of like you would see in an Uncharted game or something like that, where you have a companion that you're completing puzzles with and your combat encounters with. Maybe you point them, hey, go turn that valve open and then I'll sneak through this gate, something like that. And those sequences are great in terms of gameplay and narrative design together, because they make the NPC useful, and then there's dialogue that can happen during that. But then there's also a cool bonding that happens on the gameplay side, where the player is bonding with this NPC through gameplay and through activities and interaction. It's something that like Naughty Dog really has done very, very well. That in a lot of ways, like maybe Resident Evil 4 kind of started way back when.
All the Sony games are doing it now. Like every game does it now, and and in the Sony games it gets even too far where they will like shout out the puzzle before you even get to the location. So it's like, oh, you should do this and do this. You're like, yeah, but can I like think for one moment? Yeah. They did dial it down in Spider-Man, which is nice. But yeah, like you said, yeah, it's a big part of those games.
Yeah, and it is surprising that it's just not really here. It's you're right. I think phrasing it as lonely is perhaps the best way to do it, because it is just like you are tasked with tying all of this stuff together, bringing these people and tribes together, and then going and scouting and clearing outposts and hunting and foraging and doing all this stuff, but it's always alone. And you might have a little cutscene. And I think that, again, fade to blacks kind of harm this, because it's not like you walk up to a character and then there's a seamless transition into dialogue and a cutscene like in Cyberpunk, where you feel like you're just part of the world. There's always a fade to black, and then a fades black in, and then it's a scripted, choreographed sequence, fade to black, and then you're back in the game. And it just makes you feel like every time you're doing anything narrative, you're being transported somewhere else to do something, and then you're brought back to the game itself, and it's just really jarring. So I agree. I think that's a thing. I mean, what did you think in terms of the core gameplay? Did you think that the game is actually fun? Do you think the ideas work well together? What did you feel?
Yeah, I think the fun part and the ideas work well together. For me, were kind of separate because I personally really liked the gameplay overall, but I think it's kind of it's not. I think what I think it's really interesting to look at this game and Hogwarts Legacy, for example, because Hogwarts Legacy, of course, another major open world game for like a huge audience. Like, I think a lot of people that like Avatar maybe never played an open world Ubisoft game, but now might be interested in this. And I think Hogwarts Legacy did a great job of still having the sort of more challenging stuff. Sure, it was more to the easy side, but yeah, they wanted to make sure that everyone could play this. And I know a lot of people that rarely play games that enjoyed Hogwarts Legacy. And with this game, if people that are rarely picking up a controller to play a game, I think they're going to struggle big time, because this game is the most challenging Ubisoft open world game I've ever played. And I've played, I think, almost all of them. And it's kind of crazy for like a licensed sort of game where, like, I think you said it as well during our previous discussion last week, that there are like difficulty spikes, and it's mostly because there are these missions where you're not fighting at all, so you're hunting like a creature that is just like chilling there, so they won't hurt you. There are platforming missions where you just have to get to the top of like a mountain, or where you have like infiltrate an abandoned RDA facility. So these are like way more low key, and there are more puzzles there, so there's almost no fighting. But there are also these traditional, very Ubisoft-like outpost takeovers, and they are crazy. Like, the moment you are spotted and the whole camp goes after you, they will call in reinforcements as well. So a big plane comes in, drops even more of these mech suits. You're almost always going to die unless you're like really know what you're doing. So I was really surprised by how unforgiving it was. I even tried hard as well, and then even like the regular soldiers just have to point the gun at you for 2 seconds and you're out.
Yeah.
And I think that, so, but I actually liked it. So I really like the fact that suddenly I had to really think of my strategy for taking out these outposts. Like in a Far Cry 6, for example, it was very easy. I'm gonna get a sniper or like a sort of semi-auto assault rifle, put a silencer on it and a nice scope, boom, 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 easy, right? But in Avatar, you can't really do that because you cannot one-hit kill these mech suits. So I was like thinking, okay, I'm gonna take out the soldiers first. They have like way better sight, so I'm gonna do that. The mech suits are slower, so I can outsmart them. And it gets harder over time with like more enemies that are introduced. And I thought it was really cool, but I would still struggle for like 1 hour at a base because I would just like drop, and one wrong move and you're dead. And for me, I'm like, whoa, there's an actual challenge here. I think that's kind of cool. But I can really see people that look at the TV commercial that will probably air and be like, whoa, I want to like fly an Ikran. And then they join this game and they're like, how the hell am I supposed to take out this mech suit when my gun deals 0 damage? Because that is, I think, where the sort of idea part that you mentioned comes in. This gear score system that they have in place, where every mission has a recommended level, it hurts the overall game, because if you don't upgrade your shotgun, for example, so you start with one shotgun, and then if you don't find like a new one with like a higher rarity and like a higher damage score, you will not one-shot kill soldiers anymore, or you will simply deal no damage.
Yeah.
And I think that's really hurting the overall. It's already challenging, and then on top of that, they have this sort of, it's not like, I don't think you will understand why is this shotgun that looks the exact same, like for random people, right, that rarely play games. Why am I not hitting anything, while a few missions back I could still kill all these enemies? So I think the whole gear score system is really weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of just weird things involved with it. For one, I think the UI is overly simple and is not very easy to interpret. Eventually you get the hang of it, but the UI for me felt very outdated. And when you're speaking about difficulty, one of the things, yes, combat goes from like a walk in the park in some cases to just insanely difficult the next. But there's also a strange difficulty and learning curve, and I'd like to hear if you experience this too, with just simply exploring and the objectives. Like the way that they task the player with finding certain areas to go to, or hey, go collect this item here so that we can craft this thing we need. It's very different than a lot of people will be used to from typical Ubisoft games, because it leans much more into the sort of I forget what they call it. It's like the adventure mode or exploration mode or
something.
Something.
You have guided and exploration mode.
Yeah, it's like exploration versus guided. They lean much more this time into exploration versus guided, which is basically where they'll tell you, go to this area of the map at this time of day and look next to the creek, and that's where you can find this thing that you need to forage. And I think a lot of people used to Ubisoft games will be used to just, oh, it should give me an objective marker and I'll go there and I'll collect the thing. Easy. But it's much more involved this time around, which I personally liked once I got into it, but because it helps you get more immersed in the world and you start to learn it better, and you realize like, oh, these things are placed next to the waterways. That's where they grow. And it's in this type of whatever, not bayou, but climate and sub area. And so there's a learning curve to it. But once I got used to it, I actually really, really liked it. Did you feel that as well?
I think I never really... so you have like the guided modes, but like you said, it's still not that icon that you see and can just go to. It will, if you use your Navi senses, like show you this like blue glow.
Yeah, it's like a glowing
can
orb
just go.
thing.
Yeah. And the exploration is just the same, but without the glow, because you will always have the sort of description of it. I don't know. I'm just not really looking for that type of experience, and I also feel that for me, the world is so big, and especially the 3 regions look very similar inside those regions. That's just very hard, and for me, it would be like, okay, I'm not gonna spend 20 minutes finding this thing and then hoping that it's the right thing, because there's also the crafting system and the cooking system, and for that you have to get ingredients, and the only way to do that is through this similar system but without the glow. So for that you do have to look everywhere in the world, and I tried that a bit, and it's like, yeah, they grow under wind bend trees or whatever, and I was like, I think this is one of those, and then it wasn't there. So for me, I'm just not looking for that type of downtime experience. I just want to move on to the next thing. So
well, and I think that crafting and cooking part is really important for everybody at home to understand. When I did that interview with Drew Reckner, and Drew Reckner, by his own description, he said, if it has to do with gameplay in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, I'm the guy. So he's the associate game director. He's the guy that heads up all of those systems. And when I asked him, what is the system here that you feel people are sleeping on, that you feel ties the game together and makes it just sing? Like, what is that system? Is it the combat? Is it exploration? What is it? And he said the cooking system. And I understand why he said it, because in theory, if you enjoy the cooking system so much and crafting these meals that give you buffs to combat, which makes it easier and better, then you're going to go and forage and explore and hunt. And so you're going to engage with all this other stuff in order to get the benefit of the cooking system, which benefits combat and exploration in turn. And it's this big loop of feedback, which is really good. So I can understand why he thought that, but I don't think it works, because the crafting system and the cooking system, the reward for doing it is always, I don't know how to exactly phrase it other than being like, it's just not tangible. Like in Breath of the Wild, you craft a meal and it's like, okay, now you have cold resistance, and you can go to that snowy area in the tutorial, like Great Plateau in Breath of the Wild, that you couldn't go to before. So you crafted a meal and it opens up a world of possibilities, just a single meal. But in Pandora, there's nothing like that. It's like, oh, for 5 minutes, you're going to move faster when you're crouched. And for me, that's just not that interesting or compelling, because like you said, it's a big process to go and hunt and find these items and roots and fruit and meat and things to craft these really nice meals with big benefits. And when the payoff is like a 10-minute buff to something that you're probably not going to notice, it's just not that intriguing and not that worthwhile for the player to spend 30 minutes trying to make it happen.
Yeah, and you don't know when you start doing it if you will be spending 30 minutes or maybe longer, because again, it's like there's no direct way. And I see someone here in the chat, Seaport Hero, saying, sounds like your one's linear games. But what I like, I love open world games mostly because I like to go somewhere and then find something I didn't know that was there, or having multiple ways to approach a situation. But if I want to go somewhere, if I have like a certain goal, then I think it's nice to kind of know at least more of a direction. And for me, because they say it's in this region and you have to look for these things. And then you look at the map, and if you zoom out, you have like 3 names. If you then zoom in a bit, there are more names. But the region that is noted in the sort of hunting book, it doesn't always appear. So I found it, for someone who played a lot of games, like kind of hard to understand where I had to go, let alone if you are coming in as someone who likes Avatar and just want to experience the world through a new medium. Then I think good luck. Like, I think it's interesting that out of all the games that Ubisoft has, they went more quote-unquote hardcore with Avatar. While I think it would have been better if maybe Far Cry had these systems. Maybe people would have liked Far Cry 6 more because it added more depth, which Far Cry 6 was kind of lacking.
There's there's not much hand holding, and some people, I think I accidentally, because we filmed the review last night when we got back from the hospital and everybody went to bed, but I had a whole section in my notes that was basically like, for some people that are more hardcore, like Joe Raptor's saying, they're going to love Avatar because there's going to be just a world of possibilities, and it's very open-ended, and you can just run around for 5 hours and you'll be making progress and you'll be immersed and having a good time. And for those types of players, this is exactly what you're looking for. But if you're somebody that's looking for a little bit more of a video game experience and less of a simulation type of experience, it's going to feel very unguided and very clunky, because they'll tell you, like, I know exactly what Joe Raptor's talking about. Like, for me, I think it was like in the King's Forest area, there is this bayou microbiome thing in that area called blah, blah, blah falls. And if you go there at night, you can find this mushroom you need. And like, you pull open the map and there's like 3 or 4 tiers of zooming in and out. And it's on the 3rd level that you can see that label. But on the 2nd, the 1st, and the 4th, it doesn't appear with that label. So if you just happen to miss it while you're zooming out and trying to figure out where it's supposed to be, it can be really, really confusing. And I think that that's just clunkiness. I think if that had been polished up a little bit more, they probably would have play tested it and realized that and been like, okay, so we have to communicate it where it's like, okay, it's in the southern area of this broader map title. And
I think like, because I think also that the whole hardcore nature of this game, I don't think is the issue that much. I think it's cool that they're trying something like this, but I do think they could have eased people into it more, because you rarely hunt or gather or cook. I don't think you have to cook a single meal or craft a single item during the main story. So and there's not really like, there's no reason to go cook or craft gear early in the game, because that would be a waste of time, because a high chance that you find a gear chest and then you spend an hour cooking this or like crafting this gear item, and the next gear chest you find the better one. Like, so the moment you are going to focus on cooking and gear crafting, you want to find the legendary gear, like the best gear in the game. And to find that, you have to go to a very specific spot for an item that you need. So you're skipping all the regular sort of cooking and gear gathering or like a resource gathering to immediately go to the hardest thing. And that can be kind of overwhelming, at least for me, because I was like, where do I start? And you can like ping items that you're looking for, but instead of having just an area, like, it would have been nice if they had like a circle on the map. It's somewhere around here, and then when you get there, go for it, like look for it. There will be some directions that would have been, I think, nicer. Or if there was like a mission where it was like, okay, we're gonna teach you how to cook. Well, first you have to go here, and if it says this and this, you want to do this, and okay, it's during the rain, you get like a better quality plant or whatever. Go to the campfire, change the time of day, and then it will be raining. Like, there's nothing like it. So you're kind of thrown in the deep end, and then you don't know, or like you said, the reward, a 10-minute cook buff for something you have to work for 40 minutes. Not really nice.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know why you would spend that time on it.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it to other games in the open world genre, like The Witcher 3, you can spend, like, say you want to upgrade your swallow potion because you want to have higher healing output, which you need later in the game. So it heals X number of hit points versus the smaller number before, which when you started the game was enough to fill up half your health, but now that you're later on in the game, it only fills up like an eighth of it. So you want to upgrade swallow. If you need to do that, you can pin the items that you need to go find, and you figure out where they are, and then you go and find those items over the course of 20-30 minutes. You craft the upgrade to the potion, and then every time you rest, it's going to refill the potions, and you're going to benefit from that 30-40 minutes of grind that you did to improve the potion. In Avatar, you'll spend 30-40 minutes grinding to get a meal that, like Joe Raptor said, gives you a 5 to 10 minute buff that you may or may not notice while clearing a base or something. And that's just not, it doesn't feel worthwhile. And like I said, the game director said that he thought the cooking system was the thing that tied all of this together. And we're two individuals that have played the game and feel like what he said was like the crucial gameplay mechanic we just didn't want to engage with at all. And that's a problem.
Yeah, why was it not part of the main story then if it was crucial?
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, I used one buff that was like the 40% more damage against the RDA. That was crazy. So
that helped.
There are that helped a lot during the final missions. But so there are things like that. It's just like a lot of interesting ideas. I see someone proto here as well. Do you think Ubisoft has lost touch of what makes game fun in practice, or do they just not care? I feel like they have some ideas on paper that aren't good in practice. Of course they care. Like, there are a lot of people working there that want to make the best game. But I think, and I thought that's why our discussion in the previous episode. So yeah, if you're curious, check that out. It was interesting with you talking about the event you went to and how this process for sort of a Ubisoft game, but with the full hands-on of like this Disney and the Avatar movie studio, was like a way slower sort of thing for them. So maybe they had many ideas, but then the Avatar people were like, yeah, but that's not a fruit in our universe. Or no, you cannot make this meat because this creature is hostile. So you cannot send the body to Awa, and because every time you like hunt, you do like a sort of animation, but for like one creature you do not. So there's like there are like so many things that we don't know about, and I think they probably had a ton of good ideas, but especially in a game like this, and I think they had it with like a Mario and Rabbids as well, where Nintendo is super hands-on. Like, I don't think they can really make that vision a reality. And we talked about it also before. This was a game that started even before Odyssey, I think, came out.
Like they announced that they were working on it in 2017. Presumably they were working on it well before that as well.
Yeah.
So like they're talking 7-8 years probably.
And you see that in this game. Like, you see that this was still the era where Ubisoft thought everything has to be an RPG, and it was probably too hard for them to do a full Watch Dogs Legion, where that game also had levels and all that sort of stuff that they got rid of. And for this game, they just put it in. Of course, it's also the Division studio that probably had something to do with it as well, where they were like, hey, we know systems like this, so let's put it in this game as well. So yeah, I think this game is like a very interesting case, and I do think, like, if we are at this point next year and Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Red have launched and we're still in this 74 territory, then I think we got a problem. But I think this game and Skull and Bones, they're just like hellish development. I think there have been a lot of things, and I mean, still think that what they released today and on the December 7th release date it's pretty good. Like they did a great job making an Avatar game. They set out to make like a very immersive one, and I think people that love the series in particular will love this as well. If in 2 years the new movie comes out and people will buy this for $30 with all the DLC, I think they're gonna love it because it is more Avatar. It lets you really be a Na'vi, and I think people will love it. And maybe they made just like Breakpoint a no gear score mode or whatever. We will see.
Yeah, it's a really, like I said at the top, I think it's way better than I thought it was going to be. I was braced whenever I hear a movie tie-in game. I'm like, oh, we'll see how this goes. But it's clear that they spent a lot of time and effort on it. It was a passion project for a lot of people. There was clunk involved. Like they had to do a lot of feedback with Lightstorm, and on the one hand, that's cool because it means everything in this game is considered canonical. They said at the event we went to that they want to be able to reference stuff in the game during the films and vice versa. And so they want it all to be tied together. And there are references where they just casually are like, oh, did you hear what, whatever his name is, Jake Sully did? He just went to this base, and they just casually mention it, like some of the RDA guys at the top of the game in one of the cutscenes. And it's like, oh, because it's tying in with the first game and the second game and everything that's happening here. Okay, I get it. But, you know, it just, there's a lot of pieces that don't click together as well as you would have hoped. And that's to be expected with a game that's been in development for so long, that's been through like a lot of iterative processes of cutting stuff, adding stuff back in. And so what we have is, I think, a pretty solid game that a lot of people are going to like. It's not for everybody. And if you're looking at it and it just doesn't seem interesting, that's okay. It's not meant for you.
Yeah, you will not miss anything. You will really not miss anything. But if you're looking for a new game to sink a ton of hours into and you like Avatar, I think it is a good get. But I think it's the safest to just wait for discounts, because it will probably go on sale at one point. And
or
I think for like $30, $40, it's a pretty good get.
Isn't it also on Ubisoft Play or Uplay?
Oh yeah. Plus.
Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah, but it's only on PC and Xbox. So if you got one of those, you can.
I think that's
just
like $15. Yeah, something like that. So if you're,
I mean, you can easily finish it in a month. I mean, we finished it in a week. So
yeah, like I think you'll be okay. But I mean, so there's that. Avatar happened. Shifting gears. GTA 6.
Oh,
what do you think about that? What do you think about dem apples? Well, actually, let me just ask you first. How did you watch it? Did you watch it right as it leaked? Like, paint the picture.
Yeah, I was like working on something for my house because, as people who've been listening to the podcast know, I used to live together with my ex now, and now I kind of have the house for myself. So I'm kind of making it kind of my own. So I had this cool idea where I would like to I'm just gonna say it. I'm curious what you think of it, but it's like when people, when you have people over and they go to the toilet, I want to have like a wall where it's like TV shows you should watch, and then like some pictures of the TV shows I like. So
that's kind of cool.
They have to look at it, because that's always a thing I think with like talking to someone and talking about TV shows. Like, yeah, I like this, I like this, I like this. It kind of mostly talking like sideways, like,
yeah, you're just kind of like smiling and nodding, like, sure, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, you like that. Oh, you like that. And there are some things that you might like connect on anyways. But I thought like, yeah, now they have to look at the pics that I had. So I was like looking at that, and then I had like my tweet deck open, and I was, what? Did it leak? And that was like 45 minutes ago. So I could not watch like the Twitter account that leaked it. That was like, I think, gone in like a few minutes. Pretty crazy. But there were already, like, I just typed in the search bar GTA 6 trailer, and there were a lot of mirrors, like everyone was posting it. But that was like with the sort of Bitcoin ads through the screen.
So crazy.
And I was like, yeah, this looks kind of real. Damn, I can't see anything because the Bitcoin ad is blocking my view. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that sucks. Like, what are they going to do? TikTok will probably be full of it, like, because I don't think they have like a really good sort of detection system on that platform yet. But and then they were like, yeah, our trailer has leaked. Go watch the real thing, Rockstar tweeted. And I was like, damn, I wanted to do a live reaction.
It's real. Yeah. No, I was sitting in a hospital room, like we were waiting for the nurses to come in and check on Ori. So like we're sitting in a dark room by ourselves, just like on our phones, trying to kill time. And then Jacob texted me and was like, they dropped the trailer early. I was like, wait, what? What? No way. Because initially I didn't realize it had leaked. So I thought they were just like, everybody's planning on doing a live reaction tomorrow morning. Screw you guys. Here it is early. Like I thought they were just trolling us, but no, it was a leak. And unfortunately, like to be fair to Rockstar devs, what sucks about this is like they were planning like apparently an office party at all of their studios. They were all going to come together and watch the trailer go live. Because my understanding is that a lot of these developers hadn't seen the trailer yet because it was so locked down. They were working on the game in their own little spot, but the trailer itself was not like sent out through a company email or anything. Of course not. So for a lot of them, they were ready to see this thing they've been working on for years in its like polished form. And then it leaks and they have to watch it on Twitter or, you know, through something else. So for them, it sucked, which is unfortunate. But I mean, once we actually got to watching it, what were your thoughts?
For one, like the music choice, brilliant. I thought it was really, really cool choice. Also, like looking at the sort of story, like the two characters, Bonnie and Clyde inspired, of course, and yeah, how the song is really about like, yeah, being connected to someone. So I thought that was already great, and it was really the kind of trailer that I expected. Like the density of the world, like the amount of people on the street, on the beach, and all having their own unique animations, their own distinct look. I was like really blown away by that in particular. And there were some moments, especially with Deanna, I think her name is, right? The
Lucia.
Main, Lucia. Deanna's Wonder Woman. I've been making too many videos on those leaks. No, but Lucia, like I kind of got like Far Cry vibes from it, or so. The sort of her animations, and also just the sort of ending where they would like go into this convenience store and like kind of rob it. I'm kind of getting like Ubisoft vibes from it in a way.
Really?
Yeah.
You're triggering a lot of people right now. I'm just gonna.
I know, but it's like I don't know. I've just like it's kind of like the Danny from Far Cry 6, the Danny Rojas, and the I'm not sure what.
Yeah,
the
she
other
does
guy
kind
was
of
called.
look a little bit like Danny. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, of course, I mean, like the trailer was fantastic. It was what I expected. I did not expect 2025.
Yeah.
I did not expect that. They're getting ahead of it because it was probably going to get delayed. And I think 2025 is interesting because we, of course, had that sort of news from Take-Two that even like a few weeks ago, so they, of course, announced that the trailer would be happening in early December in like mid-November or something. So, or early November, like when that Take-Two investor call was happening. And that's why they reaffirmed saying that we are expecting almost $8 billion in revenue between March or April 2024 and March 2025. And now that GTA is in 2025, it has to be in that early window then. And I don't see a lot of people talk about that. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
How are they else going to make 2.5 billion extra dollars?
Right. When I saw that, the 2025 date, like we all were kind of expecting holiday 24. We were all kind of thinking, okay, October. That makes sense. It's within that window of April to March. Okay, like probably October, November, aim for the holiday season. That works. But when the trailer dropped and leaked and this date came, I'll put this up on screen for everybody watching the show. Pretty much the moment that trailer leaked and the date came, you see the share price plummeted. And you would think like, oh, it's the magnum opus. GTA 6 is dropping. But you see a plummet in the share price. Now, for one, as I always say, investors already priced in GTA 6. They already have priced $156.99 with the future performance of GTA 6. So it's not like they were totally unaware that GTA 6 was real and then it was announced and the stock price reacts.
To be devil's advocate, if you look at like the last few months where the price was at, it is like $20 more since they were talking about the GTA trailer.
Yeah,
so,
and I think that I think the affirmation of expected revenues climbing and also the crazy amount of attention that the trailers have gotten and the announcements, I think that has instilled more confidence in the investor base that it will actually perform to those expected levels.
It already has more views than the GTA 5 reveal trailer,
which is hilarious.
Ago.
Yeah. In like a day and a half, it's more. But like with this, it was interesting because they've recovered largely. Like it doesn't really matter. But the reason this drop happened, according to all the financial journals and stuff that I read, the reason this drop occurs at 5:30, right as the trailer leaks, is because of that 2025 date. Because the stock price was priced assuming the game was going to come out probably holiday of 24, and those extra billions would be generated in that fiscal year. And a lot of investors are assuming that this is probably their way of expecting the game to come out probably holiday 25, potentially delayed past that fiscal year, which isn't that big of a deal, but it does affect the stock price, not hugely, but it does mean that if they were expecting $3 billion next year, they have to wait another year for it, which is, of course, frustrating for investors. But I thought that was really interesting that you see this huge drop, and by the time a few hours had passed, it was largely recovered and investors kind of chilled out. But this is something that does happen.
I think that for sure is interesting. I think then their next investor call is going to be fascinating because but I always listen to them, and Rockstar stuff, they never say anything. But it will be interesting to say if they still say with the 2025 date, yeah, we're gonna get that 8 billion. Then it must be early. Then it must be that early 2025 window, and that it was planned for the holiday, and that they already internally delayed it. I saw the did you see that GTA Online shirt that seemingly teased the date? And I was like, think for 1 second, please, because so they had the date teased for the reveal, which was fascinating. It's pretty interesting. And then there was like another date, and it was like April 1st, 2025. April 1st is the first day of their next financial year. They will never put the game out on April 1st if they could also have it like launch even 1 day earlier, and then they would still be able to rake in all the pre-order money from GTA 6 in their previous financial year and beef that up. So April 1st is never going to happen.
Yeah,
so
it just wouldn't make sense. Yeah. No, and you can see this is what they're talking about when they talk about the shirt leaking the dates. It's literally a shirt surrounded by an ocean of numbers, and they've just circled the one that has like 25 in it because they said 2025. But there's also other numbers in here that you could have looked at, like this, like there's 23, there's 52. Like it's just circling a number and then being like, oh, look. And if you looked at this as 04 April, 01 1st, 2025, that's when the game's launching. But like Joe Raptor said, just no part of that would make sense. It just wouldn't.
No. There was one person in the GTA forum that actually said this for fun, like, oh, this shirt probably means that they're gonna reveal GTA 6 on December 5th, and he was right. That is so funny.
That is actually really
that
cool.
is pretty crazy. But I don't think the person that was typing it believed it. But yeah, it turned out to be correct. But so yeah, I found that interesting. Like to stick with that for 1 second, like what else do they have? Even Borderlands 4, BioShock, the new one, Judas from Ken Levine, like. I don't think that will be enough to rank in $2.5 billion in extra revenue. So
yeah, like, well, but this is the question: is when they said that, the $2.5 billion in extra revenue, were they at that point still thinking holiday of 24, and then
something changed in 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Yeah, which is possible, but it could also just be that. Maybe they're just hedging their bets because they know that every time they've announced something for the last 15 years, it ends up being delayed by like a year or two. So they might just be like, we're just gonna try to play it safe. And I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting that the executive officers at Take-Two lied to shareholders during a conference call. They were probably communicating what they thought was the best information that they had at the time. But
Yeah, for
I
sure.
would just be really surprised if they dropped GTA 6 in March.
But it's
maybe
like
February.
weird that if it is like fall 2025 and they already know it now, like why announce the game now? It really, I don't think makes sense unless it is what we've also talked about where Take-Two I think is gonna lose money this year because they haven't released anything apart from the stuff they always have every year, like NBA and WWE. Or do they? No, they have the other. EA
I think
has
that is theirs.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what they publish every year, and yeah, of course, if they invest in all that other stuff, it's not gonna make them a ton of money.
It might just be a way of kind of trying to reaffirm confidence within the investor base, just to be like, listen, I know we're having a rough year, but look at all this great stuff, this GTA 6 thing we have coming. It's the same exact thing that Bethesda did back in 2018 when they just like not even what the cards in their hand. They just showed the whole deck and laid it out. They're like, yeah, we have Elder Scrolls 6 coming, and then we have Starfield coming in 5 years, and then we have this coming and this, and Indiana Jones, even though you're not going to see that for half a decade. Like, they just showed everything because they needed to reaffirm that, like, look at all this stuff we have. We're not, washed up. We're working really hard.
Please buy Fallout 76 this year.
Yeah, we promise it'll be really good.
Good. No, but I agree. So I think it's interesting. Like maybe something changed. I don't know, but I do think it's worth mentioning that I think right now, early 2025 is probably what they're thinking, because if it is suddenly that they expect like 6 billion or 6.5, then okay, GTA has shifted.
And it's not. I mean, it used to be, and I will say, like, I am still kind of thinking like 5 years ago. It used to be that everybody assumed February is where you dump games you expect to do poorly because volumes are low. At least historically they were. But in the last handful of years, we've had huge games, like some of the biggest games of the year in terms of total sales, launch in that early window, whether you look at Elden Ring or Hogwarts Legacy, or before that, what was in 2021? I guess like Last of Us 2 was in June, I think. Or July, but like there's still massive games that launch not in the holiday season. So it's because of like digital sales, because of the modern marketplace being so huge. You don't have to release your biggest games in the holiday season for it to be really successful. So it's possible GTA 6 launches.
Maybe they also have the plan because GTA Online will probably launch a few moments later after the single player campaign, I would imagine, and you will have it in a way better state in the holiday of 2025 because we probably know that it's going to be a shit show when it launches. So maybe that's another way to make sure that, I don't know. I think they want to get it out as soon as possible. They know that they can drop it any day. I think the summer will probably not be the smartest moment, but apart from that, things, are probably interesting. And I thought like, I also tweeted out, Ubisoft, after seeing the 2025 date for GTA 6, like they probably popped one champagne bottle, I think, because Assassin's Creed Red was probably going to, they were going up against GTA 6 otherwise. And I mean, the game would have still done fine, but probably way less if it was launching around GTA 6. And maybe if GTA 6 was end of October 2024, then they would have to rush Red out like a few weeks before that. Otherwise, it's hard to get more people to care about that.
The further away you can get from a Rockstar game, the better. Just steer clear
for sure.
Steer clear.
But I thought that was interesting. But overall, for the game looks great. It's really like kind of crazy that it feels like the first game this generation so far where next to the graphics, also the sort of AI and sort of like they of course are mimicking a lot of like things that happen in Florida and stuff, and it looks real. Like there are no, so you don't see that's like a weirdly animated or something. No, it just looks like legit, and I think that's really, really awesome. In the 1 minute 30 or whatever it is, like 1 minute 24 or something, they showed like every few seconds there's a new sort of thing to look at. I think it's really, really awesome. And they are kind of teasing the more indoor areas as well, with the more like stores that we can rob, which would be like a big part of the game. They tease more than just Vice City, so it's probably going to be quite a big map. And I think the sort of there are some leaks that have now kind of been confirmed looking at the trailer, where the main characters both have more distinct roles and like different gameplay benefits. So Lucia should be more like a sort of hacker person, where she has like tracker jammers and like a sort of device that can like hack luxury cars. So instead of like being able to break into every car, you now have to there are like tiers of cars that that you should be able to break into with like different tools. So it's probably going to be very similar to what we know, but like way more depth. There are going to be more tools for heist. So I think it's going to be great. And I think the more like having even a more direct sort of a connection and relationship between the two main characters, I think is going to be very, very interesting. So
yeah,
I'm all in.
I'm very interested.
It's going to be a year though before we see more.
Yeah, I think so. They've given us a little taste, and now we have to hold out. I thought it looked really good. The Rage engine is just crazy. What is and we talked about this on stream, I just want to know your thoughts. Do you think this launches at 30 frames for everybody? Or do you think they bring a performance mode too? Or do you think they're just like, suck it up?
For a Series S, it will probably. I think for PS5 Pro, maybe 6. Maybe that's the only 60 machine. That would be crazy. Because we know.
That's my guess. Yeah.
That would be. I think overall though, like just taking a step back, Sony and Microsoft must be like, like they have like a system seller in their hand if it's not launching on PC, which they are not saying, and it's probably not. Like, and especially the Series S, unless it's like the very obviously the worst way to play the game. That like they're probably not gonna. Sony usually has the bundle with GTA. So, but if Xbox, like if Phil Spencer goes to the Rockstar office with like a huge pile of cash, like having like a $300 bundle with a Series S and GTA 6. Oh man, that's gonna be crazy. Yeah, that would be crazy. So like a lot of people that might have, because of course like PC gaming always the better option if you have like a very beefy machine. But there is another reason now, which wasn't really there last generation, for PC gamers to really go out and buy a PlayStation or Xbox, unless you wanted to play Lost of Us Part 2 or Ghost of Tsushima or whatever. But now there's like a way more compelling reason for even PC gamers to get a console, and I think that's huge for PlayStation. But
that's why it's all the more baffling that apparently Xbox is not planning a Series X Pro or anything like that.
Yeah,
they're planning like
for sure
just a cylindrical Series X basically, but the same power and more storage. Meanwhile, PlayStation is allegedly planning a PlayStation 5 Pro, which I think is reasonable to assume is going to be the only 60 FPS way to play GTA 6. And I would guess that probably is a pretty big system seller for that.
Yeah, because if the PC players are jumping they want the best possible, like the closest to PC experience, then they have to get that Pro console. Yeah. It's gonna be. Yeah, it's weird, and Microsoft must have known. So I'm not sure. Maybe
that's why it's such a huge miscalculation. I just don't get it.
Red Dead is 30, right? Yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2. Oh yeah, GTA 6 will 100% be 30 then.
Yeah. So I mean,
on Pro, it's also not 60.
Did they eventually add it though?
I don't think so. I don't think that if you play Red Dead Redemption 2 on PS5 right now that it's 60. I think it's still 30. But I might be wrong about that.
Oh, that would be interesting, because I mean maybe they do just offer like a higher resolution and nothing else. They do say Wolf's Gaming Blog says a 60 FPS mode has been added to Red Dead Redemption on PS5. It's a toggle in update 1.03, accessed via the options.
No, I think people in the chat are saying that it's only 30.
Oh wait, no, this is just Red Dead
It's
Redemption.
for the old one.
That's for the PS4 port
for a
on
version
PS5.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're right.
Yeah. So I mean,
They might just be like, no, suck it up. It's 30. Like, screw you.
and I think that's crazy though. Like
Wow.
for Starfield, that was this whole like conversation, and I think for GTA, no one will really care. Like they're not gonna be like, "Ugh." I think but also probably because if they have no load screens for like indoor everything, and if you have like that many people on the street, I think that already is like a better case for it. But that's gonna be fascinating if the PS5 Pro is the only one to put. I think Sony should like run to that office, right? What do you need the PS5 Pro to be to have this game run at 60?
Yeah.
And that's gonna
That'll be a
wild.
huge selling point. I mean, but that's the
yeah.
crazy thing with Rockstar is that like they really are the kingmakers. Like if they want you to suck up to them, they can do that. And if they also are like, no, we're going to do 30. We're just not interested. Because like Red Dead 2, if they announced that Red Dead 2 ran at 60 with like a $10 upgrade, people would buy it. I'd go buy it for the PS5. Like I'd jump on that because it's Red Dead freaking 2. But
I mean, it's crazy that it's not there yet. Like what? Why?
That's the
Like,
thing though. Is Rockstar
I
is just really weird about long-term support of their games. Like they put something out that's amazing and generation defining, and then they just leave it. They're just like, okay, we're good. Like everybody thought originally there were plans allegedly for a GTA 5 story DLC, and those were scrapped after GTA Online started doing really well.
but I do get that though, because then like because the GTA Online profit is way higher. So I do get that, I think, and it's easier to do. And they were probably like they I do think they had some sort of single player type or like more narrative focused content in GTA Online. And I remember the Strauss Zelnick, like the CEO of Take-Two, saying, "Yeah, like we saw a lot of people play the single player content in GTA Online, and that's of course still what they want. Like they want people to stay in that world and not go into the isolated single player mode. So that's kind of the sad reality. But I think having a PS5 box or an Xbox Series box of Red Dead Redemption 2 at a GameStop or whatever, so people when they buy a new console also get Red Dead. I mean, that's GTA still sells a few million copies every quarter. So I just don't get it. And yeah, it's weird. Maybe they really need all the resources for GTA and are like, yeah, we can miss this technical guy for like a few months to work on this update. But
you just never know. Like they can do whatever the hell they want. And frankly, like, let's be honest, even if the only way to play GTA 6 is on console and it's only 30 FPS, we're all still going to buy it, and it's probably still going to be amazing. Like, because 30 FPS does not automatically mean the game sucks. I know we've kind of gotten into that mode of thinking because we've had a lot of 30 FPS games that then end up being kind of wah-wah. But some of the, like, I would argue probably 9 out of the top 10 greatest games of all time launched at 30. Like, because that's just what was standard. And it's only very recently we got used to 60 FPS performance modes. So I would guess 30.
I don't know. I'm like kind of two minds, because the Sony games, obviously that's different because they only have to work on those consoles. But games like Horizon that look insane, Spider-Man, they have like ray tracing now with 60. So I do hope that when we move generations, we're not like making some like big jumps, which means that we are once again having to lower the frame rate. But right now that kind of seems the reality, and I think the Series S might be one of the I imagine if GTA 6 did not have to launch on the Series S. I do think that overall, I mean, we heard about it like with Baldur's Gate, that they didn't even want to do an Xbox version because they could not get the split screen to work. And now they're launching a version without that for Xbox Series S. Like, I wish this generation would just be Series X and PS5, because I do think some third-party games that could really go like that they will be like kind of hammered by that system. That's, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, maybe 15 million people have versus the almost 50 million PS5s that are out there. So that's kind of sad.
I don't know. At the end of the day, it's always, I mean, the consumers will vote with their wallets, and If 60 FPS is a really big deal to consumers, then they'll support those games and they won't support the others that only come in at 30. But I mean, at the end of the day, everything is a matter of trade-offs. If you go for 60 frames in the performance mode, you're sacrificing some graphical fidelity, and vice versa. If you sacrifice, frames for graphical fidelity on the other side, like playing Spider-Man 2, like at least the opening sequence on performance mode, yeah, it's cool, it runs at 60, but the sand effects with the upscaling technique they used looks really, really bad in my opinion. Like, it's very checkered and it just doesn't look very good. Whereas on fidelity, it looks amazing. And then after that section, it's fine to go on performance because you won't really notice that much of a difference. But there's always a pro and con, and it's just a matter of personal preference as to what you prefer and whether that trade-off is worth it.
Yeah, but I think the discussion is fascinating. If Xbox doesn't do a Pro console, which is currently what it looks like,
they leaked their whole
PS5
lineup
Pro,
and it wasn't there. Like, I don't think you can just quickly in a year and a half throw together a Pro version of your console. And what somebody was telling me, a buddy of mine who works in software engineering, he was telling me, like, the reason Xbox doesn't, and he didn't know this for a fact, but he was telling me this is his thought, which I thought was interesting. He said, I don't think that they're doing a Pro console because the way they manufactured and designed the architecture of the Series X and S was to use the same chipset, basically, in their server farms for xCloud.
Streaming, yeah.
And so if they were to offer a Pro variant, that would be a different manufacturing process that they'd have to undertake entirely. And then that doesn't jive anymore with the server infrastructure. It would just be for this one piece of hardware that they aren't even sure would sell very well in comparison. I mean, even still, like, the Series X is getting trounced by the PlayStation 5, and it's not that big of a performance gap between those two consoles. So it just, I think a more complicated equation.
Especially right now if you still don't have a PS5 or Series console, then you're probably waiting for either a price drop or whatever, or so you're probably not running out to buy the more expensive, more powerful Xbox. So that will probably sell even less than this S and the X right now. And then you're streaming, and then you have the lower quality version. So that's not a good selling point either.
It's a PC. Well, I think that's part of what Microsoft has been playing with, is that they're like, hey, if you want a really high-end Xbox, it's called a PC, and then you can just play all of your games with the Play Anywhere program and play that way.
But not
Problem
GTA.
is, not GTA. Yeah, exactly. It's like the idea for Xbox was, I think, if it's on Xbox, it can also be played on PC, and because Microsoft owns both, they're happy either way. They don't care if you're playing on Xbox or PC, as long as you're playing through their platform. And if they're just not going to support it, that makes me question, like, okay, does Xbox have some way of getting Xbox copies running through some emulation layer to get it on PC or something? I don't think Rockstar would go for that, but
no,
it makes me wonder, like, how on earth does this now vision of Xbox's Play Anywhere system actually work? I don't think it does.
No,
it just doesn't work when you have somebody like Rockstar that's just like, no.
The only possible scenario I see, and this is kind of like a joke, but it feels like paying Rockstar to not have GTA 6 run at 60 on the PS5 Pro.
I don't know how they
don't flip that switch.
Please don't start this.
I mean,
Please.
there were in the sort of the Activision Blizzard sort of court, it was like that PlayStation was arguing, if Xbox has Call of Duty, then we will not see the same performance updates or like the same sort of we cannot give them information on the next PlayStation, so Call of Duty will run less on our platform. Like that was kind of the so if PlayStation thinks that this is a possibility, then it probably happens. I would think.
Yeah.
So but I don't think they will do that, and I do think PlayStation will likely get the deal, but we will see.
It's gonna be fascinating. Yeah, just buckle up, everybody. It's so fun. It's still just so
What if
weird
like
to me.
the PS5 Pro already has GTA on the box when you buy it at holiday 2024? That would be so like a nice move.
Sony's
if they
like,
can
we took
already
out a second
announce,
mortgage on everything. Yeah.
if they already can announce when that console launches that it will be 60.
Dude, well, you better
even
believe
before the
they're
game is out.
PlayStation's genius with marketing this generation, and I will give them lots of credit for this. Like during the Sean Layden era, they kind of had this methodology of we'll pay for exclusivity for a year, and then if you want to play the game, you'll buy it on PlayStation. Easy. What Jim Ryan and his crew realized is that you don't really have to do that. You just have to put all of the marketing with a big PlayStation logo and frame it all as running on PlayStation. And a lot of people won't even realize it's available on Xbox and will just assume it's only PlayStation. And that's what happened with like Hogwarts Legacy. I had friends of mine that were like, I want to play Hogwarts so bad, but I only have an Xbox. I'm like, what are you talking about? You can play it. And they're like, what? Really? All the trailers show that PlayStation logo. And it's because they paid for those
Destiny
rights.
was the same. Destiny was the same because there was also like a PlayStation marketing deal. Yeah, it works. I mean, people like that see the TV commercial and only see PlayStation at the end or Xbox. Like, yeah, obviously you do think that.
Yeah.
Which is genius. But
Yeah,
I don't think if people then actually end up buying the console, the PlayStation, and then are like, damn, I could have bought this for Xbox as well. So it's kind of like, where does it end, right?
Yeah.
Do you really think that? So you're only kind of tricking people, but I'm not sure if it actually means that people are then jumping platform because
Yeah.
why would they?
I think at this point it's just about sustaining the idea that all the games are on PlayStation first and foremost. And for GTA, I think it's going to be the same thing where they will probably try desperately to get those trailers that are running on console to just say, PlayStation, and then they play the trailer and then they show the console with a little hard disk cover of GTA 6 next to it, and people will just be like, okay, so it's on PlayStation.
Oh damn, I want the faceplates with like the sort of image they had with like the palm trees and stuff.
Oh, that would
like
actually be kinda
PlayStation
cool.
faceplates. Oh, that would be awesome.
I bet somebody's already made that on TikTok.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let's be real.
Hey, we have the Game Awards. Like for people that are listening to this later, it will probably already have happened, but maybe fun to kind of quickly discuss that. Do you have any like final thoughts on it, or?
Yeah, my final thegameawards.com. My final thoughts. People have seen me on stream. We went through and I voted for each of the categories just because I wanted to get my thoughts out there. But largely, I mean, there's not really that many surprising takes. It's like, yeah, it's cool. It saved my votes. So like I voted for Baldur's Gate 3 for Game of the Year. To me, it's just, we've had an amazing year, but I think Baldur's Gate 3 is not only amazing, it was also kind of a surprise hit for a lot of people, way bigger than anybody thought it was. Whereas like Spider-Man 2, yeah, really good. Resident Evil 4, yeah, really good. But we all expected that. Same with Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, it's amazing, just like we thought. But at least Baldur's Gate was exciting and something people didn't expect to have on the Game of the Year list.
And I feel that the tail on like Baldur's Gate has been like way longer than like a Zelda. While with Breath of the Wild, it actually... It was everything people talked about, even though there were a lot of other big games on Switch. And I think even like Nintendo reported like the sales for Tears of the Kingdom were of course insane. But I think in their like previous quarter they only sold like 1 or 2 million copies, which is like a significant slowdown.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting as well. And of course Baldur's Gate is still coming to Xbox, so they will have like another boost. They're still updating it with like new ending stuff. I still have to play it. I don't know when I will because I'm kind of scared for the length.
I mean, it's a commitment, but it's one of those games that once you play it and roll credits, like you're not going to be the same. And I know that's cringy and like funny to say, but like it will change your perspective on what these RPG games can do in a really good way. It's just crazy. So highly recommend it. We'll keep asking you every time we do an episode.
Yeah, and you played it on PC, right? Because
yeah. I haven't tried the console versions, but I can't imagine it's that different. My wife played a good amount with controller before swapping to mouse and keyboard.
Okay.
She said it was fine. It's a lot of radial wheels. You kind of get used to it, but it's definitely designed first and foremost for mouse and controller, or mouse and keyboard rather.
Mouse and controller.
Mouse and controller.
Yeah.
Figure that one out. But what's your game of the year?
Of the ones that are here, it's not there. It's not there.
Well, what's yours?
I'm still kind of debating it.
Avatar:
Actually,
Frontiers of Pandora.
Yeah. King Kong. No, no. For me, there was nothing that I think there were so many great games, and my mind jumps to 2 titles like the Phantom Liberty DLC.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the sort of I think just the side missions in that game. We actually did a video on the new update, and I went back to the boss fights because they changed them a bit, which kind of crazy that they are updating boss fights for side missions.
Mm-hmm.
Like what other game takes the time to do that? So that's really cool. And then I was like going back to them, and I still remember those stories, and I thought they were really well done. And Final Fantasy 16, I think for me was really that. Wow, I was like jaw dropped many times with like the boss fights. It did kind of lose me near the end, but I do think that game has been overlooked by so many people because of things we already discussed in that podcast as well, like the 16 part. The marketing wasn't that great. While this game should be on in the same conversation as the other big PlayStation exclusives like Spider-Man, Horizon, and God of War, because the sort of budget that you see on screen, and it's like, how can they surpass this? And then an hour later, you're in a new boss fight where you're like, what the heck? I'm watching a movie, and it's like insane. So that kind of comes to mind for me. Spider-Man 2 just wasn't. I wish it was more the Ragnarok moment for me, but it wasn't really there. Still have to play Resident Evil 4. I'm just not a big horror guy, but I do know people have talked about it, and I do think because it's a bit more action focused, I should probably like it. And the same for Alan Wake 2. That's also still on the list. But now with Avatar done, and the next game being Suicide Squad, that we'll dive really into, I will probably pick at least those 2 games up. So it might still change if like one of those really grabs me. But for now, I think it's either Final Fantasy or Phantom Liberty.
Interesting. I mean, Phantom Liberty, I totally agree with. For me, the reason I wouldn't toss it in there is just because it is an expansion to a game that launched like 3 years ago. So to me, it feels weird. Like personally, I don't like remakes being considered for Game of the Year. It's just a personal preference. I'm like, most of the groundwork was done years and years ago. I feel like that was the time to win Game of the Year. The remake is great, but like, I love Mafia Definitive Edition. I don't think that game should win Game of the Year because it was a remake of something already done. That's just personal preference.
Yeah, no, I agree. But Final Fantasy should have been there.
Yeah, I think you could swap that in.
Or like Jedi Survivor or something.
Yeah, that's one that really is just not being talked about. Jedi Survivor.
I get it though. I kind of get it though, because the poor state, once again, they did not learn from the first game, and I think we talked about it as well. Like they improved a lot of things on paper, but still, if you really thought about the sort of rewards and it still wasn't that. It still felt more like leaning towards a 1.5 for me than a really 2.0 in my experience.
Yeah,
I think Hogwarts Legacy should have gotten more love as well. Like, I get that it's like, it's not like a game that like is genre defining or something, but I still think the task they had to make a game based on this popular franchise that should be interesting for people that play a lot of games, people that never play games, and that everyone unanimously, I think, that gave it a shot was like, this is pretty well done. Okay, maybe the story did not do it that well, but I think the Hogwarts, like, it's one of the most interesting, I think, open worlds, especially that castle, to just explore and see what happened there. And maybe not the game of the year category. I'm not sure if it was like nominated for other things.
I think just specifically like adventure game, I think it should have been nominated, and music, I think is a slam dunk. The fact that it's like not considered at all, I think is just laughable, frankly. Like we're literally talking about the biggest game of the year by pretty much every metric, and you're just like ignoring it and pretending like it's not there because you don't want to juggle the hot potato that is its author. Like I just think it's silly. I just think it's silly, but
yeah. I by the way wanted to talk about the announcements because I don't really care about the awards, but
yeah, I mean honestly, let's be real, that's where we all are. Yeah. Okay, what do you think is the big announcement?
It seems like we're getting quite a lot of new game reveals, which is kind of interesting. So we just learned that Supermassive will do a single player Dead by Daylight type game. Supermassive is of course the studio behind Until Dawn, and they of course did the brilliant. I thought it was pretty nice. The 2K game. What was it called?
Oh, hold on, I'm pulling it up. Supermassive, The Quarry.
Yeah, The Quarry. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
I really liked it. People kind of roasted it, but I think Nikki and I played it through like 3 or 4 times, doing all different options and choices. We just love these games. The original Until Dawn game came out back in 2015, and it was like one of the very first games we actually played together with our little friend group. So Supermassive is actually a studio that like me and my very close friend group and my wife, like we've been playing since we first met each other. So I hold Supermassive games very near and dear to my heart. So it's cool to hear that.
And it's cool that even though I think only Until Dawn really sold really well. Maybe the Dark Pictures anthology that they also did still made a profit because you really saw the budget take a nosedive for those games.
Yeah.
I think The Quarry, I think they said 1 million players, but yeah, I don't think that game really set the world on fire. But it's cool that they still get like they can still get to make these games, because I remember also after Until Dawn they were suddenly making this stupid VR game that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of cool that they get to do what they are good at, and it's kind of sucks that Sony did not buy them, because now that Quantic Dream is gone with like Heavy Rain, and I kind of miss that sort of game in the Sony catalog, and Detroit was kind of cool as well. So, but yeah, cool that should be coming. Xbox is teasing important announcements. Like they are really, even if you boot up your Xbox, it's like, watch the Game Awards. So they're not doing that if they have nothing to show. And last year they were absent, and a lot of people slammed them for it because it was like, did yet one of the worst years ever with no releases, and you're skipping a major event where you could like tease maybe something exciting. So now they're kind of like, they're rectifying that with like some announcements. Like the artists is that they're gonna announce the new Arcane Leon game, which should be Dishonored 3. So that could be interesting. That was of course already leaked. We know there's a new Doom game in development, year 0. This was all leaked thanks to court documents. Like Indiana Jones are gonna talk about it next year, so I'm not expecting that. I mean, we don't know what the coalition is doing. I think Fable's still far away though. Because if you look at the E3 they did, we only had like release day or like release years for Hellblade and Avowed, which was 2024, and all the other games did not have a year or whatever. So I totally think it's
far. I think we've seen some people were saying it was debunked, but I tried looking into it on stream and it wasn't really clear if it was or not. But there were allegedly, I'll save myself that way, there were allegedly like Australian ratings for some of the games Xbox is.
Oh yeah, that was fake.
That was fake.
Yeah,
okay.
That was fake.
But even despite that being fake, I still would totally expect we see Hellblade. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox wants to have, and they said during, I think, June that they were lying, that right now it was looking like they were going to hit that. Like they want to have a big first-party game every quarter, and it's kind of crazy that they don't have that, looking at the amount of teams that they have, and especially looking at some of the studios they bought in 2018, 2017 that still have not launched a game. Yeah. But I digress.
Well, I think that it's probably going to be like once they start that wheel rolling, I think we will get every quarter.
Yeah, but
Like
yeah,
some
but so
massive
far
stuff.
we have seen that because Starfield was in the second quarter, was like September, or like the third one, and then Forza they had in October. So what is early next year gonna look like? If they have like Hellblade
maybe
for
Hellblade.
March, that would be cool.
That would be awesome.
And Avowed is then maybe summer or whatever. So I totally think something like that. Yeah, so Xbox should be big. I mean, they did announce the Xbox Series X, of course, 1 year before it came out. Maybe they're gonna announce the new one. I don't think they will, but just still wanted to throw
I mean,
it
it
out there.
already leaked. They could just do a little sizzle reel or something and just be like, coming holiday.
Yeah, but I think then they would really be like, yeah, don't buy a new Xbox or don't buy an Xbox this full year because
That is
there's going to
fair.
be a better one at
Yeah.
the end. So that's kind of weird.
That's fair.
There seems to be a Tale of Two Sons remake that has been leaked. So
That could be cool.
yeah, we might see that. There have also been like, of course, rumors for Sony that they're doing a God of War DLC or like a sort of standalone game. We might see that. Spider-Man, like we know Insomniac will be there. There's going to be a big update for the game. Maybe they will talk about that. Like a Wu-Tang Clan action RPG. Did you hear about that?
I did actually hear that. That's not on my bingo list.
No. But yeah, but it seems like there are some rumblings that it might mean that there's something related to that. It's interesting. There's like a possible Blade game reveal at the Tokyo Game Show, but there was like this weird. There were like actors like with a blade and then a Ubisoft sort of motion capture suit on, and they were like, it was really strange. And then Ubisoft confirmed, "No, we're not making a Blade game." But if that was like a lie, that would have been interesting. But yeah, I'm kind of like looking at the leaks right now, but it seems to be a lot of like new games from studios we maybe not have heard of, like of veterans that left their big publisher to start their own studio, kind of something like that. I hope we get an update on Crimson Desert. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah,
probably coming next year as well. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But I do think that we will look at it. There will be some familiar names, but I also think there will be a lot of stuff where we're like, we could not have seen that coming, and oh, that looks interesting, but it's still like this teaser trailer for something that happens a few moments later. I hope that one of those Take-Two games will, like maybe Judas from Ken Levine that we actually saw last year, would be cool to have that again and with a release window, because that game has been in development for, or actually since Infinite. Like Infinite was the last game he made, BioShock Infinite.
Which is crazy. I mean, he's known for like, I think Infinite restarted development like 3 times or something insane like that.
Yeah.
Like,
but that still came out like relatively fast after BioShock 1, because BioShock 1 was 2000.
I think 8 or 7.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Infinite was 2013. So that's still relatively fast. It's now been 10 years since Infinite. Crazy.
I mean, with all this, Game Awards is going to be really, really interesting. I'm very excited. But the other perhaps most interesting thing that's going to happen tomorrow is, just to wrap up the podcast with a huge announcement that I know everybody's going to be super stoked about. Joe Raptor's like, what the hell is he talking about? The day before, allegedly, is still launching tomorrow. But the developers put out like an apology / bragging post. It's really, really weird, where they're just like to supporters, thank you for protecting us from injustice and fakes. Like, what does that even mean? Like, they posted this before the game launches, and it's just a bunch of really random, weird things like, please forgive us for not doing the best marketing and teasers. We learn something new and improve ourselves every single day. Please don't accuse us of scamming. That's not true. Like, they just keep going over and over and over again. What are the odds? They should
post this after the freaking game is out, because
they actually are like going full meta. They are apologizing before the game comes out now instead of right after. Before. I don't know, man. Do you think the day before is an actual video game?
I mean, they're doing it the day before, so hey.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I think it's an actual game, but I think it will be really, really bad. I think it will be like everyone is like, what the heck is this? And I think it's good that it was like on the top Steam charts. Maybe it still is because I don't think those things get removed. But I really think I think it's nice that the finals is now on top. That's interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
But like I think it's really cool that, or like really good that people grew tired of it. Like it really did show that what they did, they had such an interesting sort of thing going for them, and they really screwed it over. And even when there were like videos where it was like, oh, this doesn't look real, like some developers were like looking at this footage and were like, there's no like audio for this gun. They're using the same sort of audio for every like shot, while it should be like they really like did like a full like deep dive on why the trailer was probably super scripted. And even then people were still like, oh, I want to play this game. I had people that reach out to me like, I saw the day before, should I be excited? I was like, it's probably not a real game, but you do you. But I do think that after they dropped that Lamborghini trailer and they just kept delaying it.
So weird.
this sort of weird name like that someone else was taking their name, or it was such a shit show.
And they're openly like, yeah, we don't have employees, we have volunteers. Like the entire game is being developed by volunteers. Like a cult.
That's gonna be great.
I
mean, the fact that you have to remind me that this game is coming out tomorrow does show, I think, that it's not on people's radars anymore. And I hope it surprised people, but this really one where I'm like, no, it probably won't. It will probably be really bad.
Yeah.
It will be fun though to see videos with like glitches and stuff.
I'm buckled in. I'm ready. I'm ready to download it the moment it's ready. Return it.
I can't wait to see your video. It's what I feared, or something like that.
Yeah, it's just as bad as we thought. Or like, what have I done in the past? Yeah, I tried the day before to see if it's that bad, and then the thumbnail, yes, period.
Yes. Spoiler, yes.
Anyway, do you have any other parting thoughts before we wrap this up?
No. Yeah, I think this. I think you discussed it before we started the podcast as well. This is kind of probably the final busy week of the year, and then next week will kind of be a fallout after that. I'm looking forward to the Mirage New Game Plus update. That's probably coming next week, I think, because otherwise it's like too close to Christmas if they break something. Yeah. Like that's what I think happened with the Christmas event from Valhalla, where Eivor was drunk all the time. They launched it like a few days before Christmas, so they could not fix it. So they had to. We were drunk like for a full month.
Yeah, everyone was out of the
developers.
office.
Yeah, they were all like, So I do think they're gonna launch it next week probably. So that will be fun. But yeah, that's kind of it for this year, and we had a good run.
We had a good run.
We had a good run.
Here, Jacob is asking in chat, do you think the Switch 2 gets announced tomorrow?
No way, because Nintendo still has a lot of other Switch things, and they will do their own event. Like they're kind of the rock star in terms of hardware. They can publish it any day, and people will go crazy. I mean, we have rumors that it's coming out at the end of next year, so I don't think announcing it.
I think like with most of these big announcements, it's the same thing with like Bloodborne 2. People are like, oh, we're gonna see that there. I think with these huge announcements, they would leak. Like GTA 6 leaked, and that had, I'm sure, millions and millions and millions of dollars pouring into keeping it secret, and it still leaked. So I think if like the Switch 2 is coming, we would probably have heard rumblings about it.
Yeah, and we have rumblings that it's gonna be next year. And I do think like Nintendo already announced that it's not in their current financial year. Like if they would announce it now, they're probably going to launch it in March, February, and we know, looking at their financials, that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So they will have a very slow 2024. Like we already know about the Princess Peach game, the Donkey Kong and Mario game, and they have some other stuff. So it's really they're trying their best to not, like for the Wii U and for the other older Nintendo systems, the last year of the life cycle was dry. Like there was nothing. So they're kind of trying to not have that. But I think end of next year. I mean, it was going to be crazy if GTA 6 and the Switch 2 and Assassin's Creed Red, like, that would have been a crazy holiday season, but...
Dude, we wouldn't sleep.
Yeah. But now Rockstar's like, no, we will be back next year.
Yeah.
Fine.
Oh, well.
Death Stranding 2, I see people say that, yeah, that's probably going to be there, but I don't really care.
Oh, yeah. If you see, like, first of all, ouch. You just triggered some people. But no, I mean, I think if you see Jeff Keighley get a little teary-eyed and maybe a little emotional, it's probably because Kojima's nearby. So I would say, yeah, the odds are pretty high. We'll be able to tell, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if we get another Death Stranding trailer. I don't know when it's expected to launch. Death Stranding was what, 2019? So it's
so the next year would be ideal, I think.
Yeah, that would make sense. So maybe we see it there. I think if Kojima's gonna reveal another trailer, it would be a Jeff show. They have like a little.
Oh yeah, he was already editing and stuff, and it might be the final Game Awards before the game is out as well. So
yeah, I think it just makes sense. They're buddies.
And do you think we will get the Elden Ring DLC?
Yeah.
I think you wanna. Yeah, but we know it's gonna be later than expected. So
yeah, the producer came
out
out and was like hedging. He was saying it's, we still have a bit of time.
I actually in my Game Awards video talked about that as well, where I was like, I'm looking at the Bandai Namco financials, and there's no major bump, and they expected only like a slight increase over last year, and they have Tekken, and which are gonna be pretty big. So yeah, there was no room for the DLC. So it's gonna be after March. Like it might be 3 years after Elden Ring comes out, which is crazy.
I mean, maybe it's just that epic and massive. I don't know.
Yeah, but why not do Elden Ring 2 then?
Maybe they're working on like engine overhauls or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
They might be finally trying to kick that 60 FPS limit.
Will that still be on PS4 and Xbox One? By the way, that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if they announced that. That's crazy.
I don't really see them doing a next gen exclusive DLC like Cyberpunk. Maybe they do. Maybe that's part of the delay, is that they're doing something crazy ambitious. But I would be surprised if they did that.
Yeah, but there are some rumors that there's like backend updates to Elden Ring on Steam, so that they're like updating it, that they're preparing something. So it might be that we get like Elden Ring DLC trailer, and then it's like, yeah, but right now you can already blah blah blah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Might be.
It'll be interesting. Proto says there was a leak I saw saying that they were planning 2 expansions, but they decided to merge them together. Grain of salt type of thing, but maybe true. And that wouldn't surprise me, just because that's exactly what happened previously with other games, so that wouldn't shock me. But anyway, thank you everybody for chilling with us.
Yes,
you are wonderful. Much love. We will see you probably next week, talking about Game Awards stuff and hopefully some other exciting things that have happened since then. So thank you everybody for chilling with us. Much love. You all are wonderful, and we love you dearly. We'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.